Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the regular select board meeting for the town of Rutland. This is Tuesday, June 4th. It is 6 o'clock, and please rise and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, thank you. We have minutes for the May 21st first select board meeting. Has everyone had a chance to review them, and is there a motion? Motion's made to approve. Is there a second? Second. Seconded. Any additions, deletions, or corrections? If not, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Passes unanimously. Any board member announcements? Okay. Select board chair, we're going to do a few things, scrambling the agenda just a tad tonight. We have a couple of folks here for an appointment. Teresa is here. Teresa Mealy is here to talk about the two personnel things that are further down on our agenda. Joe. And there could be other changes as things go on. So, we do also have a request, and let's take this up at the top before I forget it. On your desk is a letter from Howard Burgess, chair of the Town of Rutland Fire District Number 1. He is requesting that the select board, announcing the select board has a vacancy in its 3-member prudential committee, and he hopes that we will appoint to that vacant position Cynthia Del Bianco. And of course, you know that the fire district is negotiating to have the town of West Rutland take over the water and sewer system. So this is a probably short-lived position.
An interesting thing.
I didn't realize that was part of our hours, but sounds fine to me.
It seems to me we've been around on this.
So
Yeah.
it's an interesting thing that that's a separate entity from the town, but we get to approve or appoint a member to their prudential
I
committee.
think we went through this. I think
Yeah.
their bylaws call for it. I questioned the same thing.
Yeah.
And how do they have the authority to have us make an appointment? Usually it's, I thought, an election, but
Whether you would think it would be within their fire district, because
Right.
we don't,
right.
That's what I thought.
but we've done it before. We appointed somebody the last time. Yeah,
Okay.
I believe we did. They asked for us to do this, and evidently, and if that's what they want, then I'd move that we appoint Cynthia Del Bianco to fill the vacant position to Fire District 1's Prudential Committee.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. Discussion? If not, all in favor, please say aye.
Right.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Okay, that takes care of that one. And all right, we have two folks here concerning the Otter Creek Communications Union District. Visiting us today are Danielle Muma, thank you, and Andrew Palmer. And they are interested in being the representative, Danielle, the representative, and Andrew, the alternate to the Otter Creek Communications Union District, period, and they would be our reps from the town of Rutland.
Wow.
I think that we should
I
appoint her
think they have a
before
pretty
she
good
gets
chance
away,
of getting it.
right?
How long have we been trying
Yeah,
to?
right. Isn't that the
Okay.
proper thing to say?
that we are very grateful for their interest. And is there a motion quickly before they leave?
Get away.
Yeah.
Or smarten up.
I moved, would we appoint them as the order that you stated?
Very good.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. Any discussion?
Now maybe can we hear from them?
Yeah.
Matt, you, authorize Mary to sign. There's only one signature place.
Oh.
Authorize Mary to sign.
And authorize me to sign on behalf of the board. Okay. Thank you for your interest. Tell us very briefly why you're interested.
Somebody needs to represent Rutland Town.
Thank you. That was pretty brief.
Do you have any particular background or interest in this subject matter, or just?
We certainly do, but I don't want to give too much away because my value could be worth a lot and I cannot give that away at this time.
Well, okay, we're about to vote, so.
You're more than welcome to vote no, that's fine. But
I've been in line construction for 30 years.
we both have been in the utility industry for 30 years.
Okay.
So we're familiar with what's going on and I'd like to know what Otter Creek is doing. And I'd
Okay.
like to know what they're doing with CCI.
Okay.
Perfect. I
Right.
like that.
Okay, so presumably you'll be monitoring whatever interest Rutland Town has in this, which up until now
Absolutely.
apparently hasn't been much, but because we feel like we've been covered, I think, but.
Looking at their website, I'm not even familiar with what they're doing, so I have more interest in figuring it out to make sure that what they're doing is going to cover the people appropriately.
Great,
Okay.
so you'll come back and report to tell us what the heck's going on?
When I find out, absolutely, because the purpose of this community union district is to bring service to the rural communities. And so that we don't get hosed by the big conglomerates like Comcast and CCI.
Hey.
Thank you for
Good.
that.
Yeah. Any
Very
further?
well spoken.
What she said. Okay.
There we are.
Any further questions or comments? If not, all in favor of Danielle Muma and Andrew Palmer as our reps to the Otter Creek Communications Union District and authorizing me to sign, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? It's unanimous. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Cool.
Okay, this goes in the folder. All right. So you're free to stay or free to go? Your choice.
I'm sure we'll be in touch. You're the road foreman, right?
Yep. I am.
Okay.
We'll be in touch.
And feel free to, the circle, our town newsletter. We're not going to publish in the summer, but in the fall, if you wanted to do a little article in there telling us what they're up to, that would be a great way of communicating to the townsfolk.
That's not what they're up to.
Okay, great. Okay, thank you
Can I
much.
give you my updated email? I didn't put that on there.
Yeah, Bill's, yes, okay.
I don't want to say it loud. One of my coworkers is.
Okay. Teresa Mealy is here, so we're gonna be with her in a moment, but is there anyone else who is not otherwise on the agenda who wishes to address the board? There's no one in the room. And there's no one on the screen who has so indicated. So thank you, Hans. And we will move to Teresa, come on up here, please. And in your packet, we will be looking at items. Let's see. Oh, D. It's the proposed comp time and paid holiday policies. And you will recall that we had the comp time policy in here at the last meeting. We really should consider the comp time and the holiday policies together. So we are doing so tonight. The holiday policy is just to fast track it. It's the same holidays as was previously approved, and it is in our personnel policy, those holidays. But we wanted to And there was an issue, there was a question, a request that we have Bill circulate the comp time policy among all of the department heads, which I believe he has done. But Teresa's also going to comment that she had also reviewed the comp policy with all of the department heads as part of her work. You will remember she is the consultant we hired to help us with the employee handbook. Bill, did we get anything from any department head?
Not through me, no.
Okay.
But I have something.
Okay.
You get to me.
Okay. But which one is it on? Holiday or comp? Okay. What's,
No, they want it. So I don't have a copy of it, but there's a couple different examples in there of like if you do something and then something, and so I think that the third example.
Why
Are
don't
there
you come
two
over and look over at
examples?
Teresa's
yeah, there's
shoulder?
two.
So
Do you have it?
yeah, Bill just gave it to me. So there was one example that said, if you, I guess what I'm trying to say, if you use comp time during the week, you don't get paid overtime, right? So one of the examples said, like, you ask for 8 hours off on Friday. You're authorized 8 hours on Friday. You work 75 hours up till Thursday. Then then your 2 week total is 83,
Right.
which indicates you're going to get paid 3 hours of overtime for using comp time, which is not a thing. I don't believe. If that's the way this is going to work, that's insane. But it should be, if you use comp time anytime during that work week, then you can't get overtime. Because if you work
Oh, I see what you're saying.
over 40 hours, you don't need the comp time.
So
So the example in there is misleading, or it says you're going to get paid. You're going to submit a timesheet for 83 hours. So it means you're going to get 3 hours of overtime by using comp time, which is ass backwards.
So we have to look at work week instead of pay period, because overtime is calculated based on a work week, working more than 40 in a work week. So we have to move away from pay period, because that also, to your point, confuses the issue. So we have to look, to your point, at 1 week at a time. And what I think you're describing here is that, just like with taking vacation or sick time, that time would be at straight time. You wouldn't get that comp time wouldn't be.
You get paid 83 hours at straight time.
Straight time.
You got to look at it like you
Okay,
can't.
That makes no sense.
Well,
to
wait,
me.
if you leave the examples alone, and
If you
because
take the
right
examples
above it,
out, I can make this work in my office.
right above that, there is a sentence, couple of sentences above. Comp time is earned at a rate of 1.5 hours for each hour worked in excess of 40 hours, actually worked in any work week. So it's intended to be for those excess hours over overtime, which would otherwise be
That's the
overtime.
calculation for the comp time.
Right,
Right.
right.
But
That's
I'm
how you
talking
do
about
it.
if you, a full-time employee working 40 hours per week works 80 hours in a pay period. If an
Right.
employee has requested and has received approval in advance for 8 hours of comp time, and that employee works 75 hours in that same pay period, the total hours for the pay period would be 83.
Mhm.
So you're going to pay an employee.
Where are you?
That's
Oh,
the
okay,
83
okay.
83 hours
Mhm.
for using comp time.
Well, no, because, well, yeah,
So you're building.
Works-
Now you're as
It
confused as Dave is.
they worked overtime
They didn't
to
work
accrue,
overtime, they
well,
worked
previously,
75 hours.
previously they work overtime in order to accrue the comp time.
Right.
So they accrue comp time at time and a half, and they work the overtime. Then when they take the comp time, you get paid at straight
Right.
hours, because
Yep.
you accrued it
It's
at
already
time and a
been
half.
converted. Yep.
So you get paid at straight time. So that's why it would be 83 hours at straight time and not overtime.
So we're going to pay them 83 hours of straight time.
So what that example, that last example is just describing is that if you take the combination of comp time hours, the combination of hours worked
Mhm.
and comp time can exceed the number of working hours in a payroll period. So all that's not saying anything about overtime. That's just saying that, if you worked,
But that's confusing because if you work 75 hours and you ask me on Monday for Friday off on comp time, and I say yes, and you work 75 hours in that 2-week pay period, and on Friday you take the day off, you only get paid the 5 hours. You use 5 comp time hours to get to 80. You don't go to 83.
so that's a decision that you all get to make. When I talked with everyone,
I just-
what I understood, and it can be changed, but this is not about overtime. This is just saying if you,
I just want to say this example, my guy saw this and went, oh, we're gonna get 3 hours overtime for taking comp time.
no,
So
this
that's-
is,
I
I
wanna
understand.
cut that off at the knees.
So
So-
do we take out the example or examples,
me.
plural?
So
No, I don't think you do.
I
Okay.
think you need the example there because the question is going to come up, and this last example is not about overtime. This is simply saying that you're not capping the number of hours worked and comp time at 80 in a pay period. You're just saying that, hey, if you ask for 8 hours of comp time and you've worked 75, you will get paid for 83 hours. You're saying as a town, we're not going to reduce your request of 8 hours to 5 to make it 80. We are going to pay out 83 hours. This example is relative to the statement above about the combination of hours worked and comp time. It is not about overtime. That's where the confusion is, and I understand what you're saying, but what they're using this example, they're reverting back to how comp time or how overtime is calculated. So 83 hours in a pay period, given this example, is just that you're letting them use more of their comp time. You're going to pay them more than 80 in that pay period.
But it is at the rate of straight time, not overtime. None of it is overtime? Because I think that's what the confusion is.
Yeah,
So maybe what we can,
yeah. It's
We-
the issue I'm seeing is that's if that gets written down, that could be overseen during payroll, and by no fault of anybody. Just 83 hours. Yep, they got 3 hours overtime, and
Yeah, you're right.
But
when
how'd it
you're-
go?
The employee
Right, but
manual
when-
says you work 80 hours in a 2-week pay period. Anything over that is overtime.
Right.
we're talking
83.
apples and oranges, though. I understand that maybe there's a better way to give an example, but we're talking apples and oranges because overtime is going to be calculated based on the number of hours worked over 40 in a work week. What we're talking about here is in the pay period. You're looking puzzled, Dave. Where did I lose you? Overtime, forget comp time.
Mhm.
Overtime is earned in a work week. That's the law.
Okay, so if you work 45 hours
In a
This
work week.
this week.
Yep.
And then next week, you work 35 hours, you turn in a timesheet for 80 hours.
You're supposed,
5 of it's going to be overtime
you're supposed to have
because
5
45
overtime
hours, that 5 hours in work week number 1, those
Oh, that's right, 'cause it-
overtime
okay.
has to be awarded in the week it is worked. You just happen to be paid bi-weekly, right? So in the example you've given, good example, 40 is straight time, 5 is overtime. The following week, work week 2, is 35 hours of straight time. So in that following week, let's pretend the person asked for 8 hours of comp time. All you're saying is, we're not going to say to you, we're capping the amount of time we're going to pay you in your paycheck at 5. We're going to let you take all 8 hours. We're going to pay you all 8 hours. We're not going to say you have to limit it to 5 to make up 80 hours in a pay period. We are going to allow you to get paid out for the full 8 hours.
In fact, we would be buying down their comp time.
We're buying, yes. And the reason that when we had the discussion, and I know it's been a while, the reason that you were choosing not to cap it is exactly what Matt said. So you can buy down the comp time and not carry big, even though you don't have a big comp time accumulation. It allows you to buy down comp time over time, which helps everyone out budgetarily. You don't have to do it that way. You can change your mind,
Well,
but that was the
department
intent.
heads- Department heads under this also have discretion as to whether to do that, right?
Pardon me?
The department heads also have discretion as to whether to approve the use of comp time and the buy down of comp time.
You have to follow your policy. So if
Right,
you're
but
going
isn't
to
that what we
allow it
said?
to exceed the 80 hours in a pay period, you don't want to be making exceptions. Yes, the department heads are always going to have the discretion because the policy says they need to have discretion, and it needs to, comp time needs to be approved. I believe the language in the law and in your policy says within a reasonable time, and as long as it's not interfering
Right.
with business operation, with town operation. But I would not recommend that you have in your policy that it can exceed 80 hours in a pay period and then turn around and have people making different decisions, because now you have inconsistent practices, and that's where things go sideways.
So if you look at the next to the last paragraph, sentence really, on the last page, under payout, it says an employee receiving payment for accrued comp time will be paid at the regular rate of pay. So if the example that you gave, those extra 3 hours, he wants to be paid, but he's going to only be paid straight time for those additional 3 hours, right?
Yes, because
So
you're,
payout is different from accumulating.
yes. Good
You might
distinction.
realize this and decide, yeah, I'll only count 5 of my comp hours this week and hang on to the rest and do something differently later.
And the bottom line is we owe them that because they've earned it and accrued it.
Right.
But there's reason we've capped it at 40, so this doesn't get out of control, right? You're only it's 5 days worth of time.
And that,
They can accrue.
what Mary said is a good distinction. So the way comp time is earned, as you know, is at time and a half. So if they have earned overtime in that work week, it's going to be at time and a half. The choice your employees get to make is, do I want it in my paycheck or do I want it assigned to my comp time bank? So, and then when it's paid out as you just described. It's been a while. Does that make sense? Kind
No,
of?
it doesn't, but I mean, I get what you're saying. I guess I'm falling back on my other life, and it was totally different than this. So.
I think our other life, it only lets the, whatever you had.
It capped
Right.
Yeah.
You use comp time, but you just couldn't go over.
over
At the end of the
the,
year, if you had extra, you got paid off that.
Yeah.
Yes, yes,
It was
Yes.
an easy way to do it.
yes.
and the same thing is true of vacation policies, sick time policies. Employers have the ability to say, no, we're capping it to the total number of hours in the pay period. That's all we're going to let you take. Or yes, we'll let you exceed the number of hours in the pay period when we're looking at hours worked and whether it's vacation time, sick time, or comp time.
Okay, any other questions from the board? Yeah,
No, but those two departments right there are the ones that are going to have the most influence on this.
Mhm.
After those guys work a 80-hour pay period, and then March 23rd, they're in the trucks for 20 hours on a Saturday after they've already worked 2 weeks. That's why I think for you, Dave, this is very, because highway is the ones that are going to work the extra hours,
Mhm.
and police. Things
Right.
just show up
Correct.
unexpected. Almost everybody else's overtime is due to something just went wacky one day, but so for them to understand this clearly is very important, because he's got to make his guys understand how this is going to work, because I'm reading it and it's, I've read it a little bit and I'm still really confused, but
Well, part of this, I mean, we would want the board clearly and department heads to understand what you're agreeing to, right? Because if you don't, then you probably shouldn't be approving it.
Right.
But the other part of that too is walking through this and training your employees to your comp time policy. So, that is something that we would partner on doing together so that there is that kind of understanding. And there is at some point where you can only describe it so much in writing, and you need to walk through it and they'll see it on their paychecks. Or not on their paychecks, excuse me, but when they're having a timesheet at the same time you have your policy, I think will also be very helpful, because there is a line on the timesheet that's going to say, I want my overtime to be converted, or I want my overtime to be overtime. And that will help with this as well.
All right.
Let you know how that plays out.
Well, let me ask this. Would it behoove you to have Teresa come in and talk with your fellas and answer their questions so that they understand that you understand and she understands, instead of waiting for somebody to blow their top and say, I didn't get paid for this, or I don't want it. I just think it would behoove you to meet with Teresa and your staff, if that sounds reasonable to you.
That actually is what I had planned as well, because we have new timesheets that we're going to be implementing. Once this policy is approved, we've got the comp time on the timesheet, and they really do go hand in hand. And I agree, we want to make sure that you feel comfortable. And it's a new policy, it's a new process. So people are going to be a bit unfamiliar, and it's going to take a couple of times. And you certainly always have, me to reach out to and say, hey, we're stuck on something. We can't kind of remember, or we aren't quite sure about the mechanics of this. Can you help us? And certainly Kari and Susan both are aware of the comp time policy as well as the new timesheet. So it's kind of it's a group effort, and we would go over this as department heads first. And then we do a training like we did on the timesheets. Well, it's been a while. I mean, it's been quite a few months, right, since we first went over this. So I appreciate that you would have questions about it.
Any other questions about comp time? The comp time policy. Okay, let's turn to the paid holidays policy. And again, the holidays themselves were ones set in the previous personnel policy. It's just how the holidays are observed and holiday leave pay. Do you want to do a real quick?
Sure. So it's expanding the policy because some of what the department heads were running into is different ways of working with the holiday policy. And one of the nice things that has been added to the holiday policy is allowing, if you look at the bullet number 4, pay for working a holiday, that employees across departments will now have a choice of being paid at the rate of 1.5 times their regular rate of pay, which was your previous policy. So there's no change there. But one of the nice things that the police department employees were favorable about, and Dave wanted to offer this as well to the highway department, is that they could choose to take a floating holiday instead of being paid at time and a half. So it's a win-win for everybody. Employees get a choice. It's been working well. It just wasn't captured in writing. And just a little bit more detail, as Mary said, about, okay, what happens if you don't work a holiday? What if you're not scheduled on a holiday? What if your shift is longer than the 8 hours? How does that work? So it is detailing or outlining and capturing some of the structure that was missing before, that was causing a lot of questions. And again, the intent here is to be consistent in our practices and take as much guesswork out so that payroll doesn't struggle as much and the department heads are able to easily sign up on timesheets and everybody's on the same page.
Questions from the board or comments?
So the last sentence in number 4, and I'm not sure if I'm reading something wrong or what, but it says floating holidays do carry over into the next fiscal year and must be used or will be lost.
Ooh,
It's supposed to say do not.
That's kind of
not.
contradictory, isn't it?
yep, there's a not missing.
It's either they don't carry over or they do, but you can't have it both ways. So the way this reads, it says that floating holidays do carry over, into the next fiscal year.
Correct.
Okay. So if they do carry over, then they won't be lost.
They must be used in that fiscal year, and if they are not used in that fiscal year, they're lost.
Missing not.
So then
Do
it should
not
say
carry
do
over.
not
Oh,
carry
you're missing
over.
the word not.
Not is not in the sentence.
They do not carry over.
No, they do carry over into the next fiscal year.
Then they're not lost.
If you,
You can't have it both ways, dear. You gotta be one or the other.
And I think we did the not because keeping track of the floating holidays
Sick
would be
days.
kind of a difficult
Do,
thing
right?
to do.
You can accrue
No,
sick days up to
so
30. Yeah, so it's gotta say do not carry over.
well, then that's different than the original intent. So if you have holidays in this fiscal year
Yep.
and employees don't get a chance to use them because of scheduling, which sometimes can happen.
This is
Yep.
floating holidays.
Floating holidays.
Floating holidays, not the
Correct.
regular holidays. So,
No,
So you
floating
get-
holiday.
right, so that, and if I understand right, the floating holiday is payment for working on a holiday, and then you can take a floating day as compensation, right?
Yes.
Right, so,
Instead of compensation.
so it can't be both ways. It can't be that you can carry them over or you're gonna lose them. It can't, you either, it's gotta be one way or the other. If it's gonna be carried over, you don't, our people earned on their sick days, they can carry up to 30. So if they don't use any sick days, they can carry 30. After 3 years, and then they lose, you have to take some sick days, or you're gonna lose 10. So this has either gotta say floating holidays carry over into the next fiscal year, and then that's the end of it.
And I think when we talked about this, Mary and I wanted it to not carry over.
Right. Which is fine.
Because it really, in my view, there's no reason why if you.
You don't need to accrue
You
holidays.
shouldn't have to accrue, I mean,
Yeah, so it should say.
I guess you'd
because
get like
They're kind of,
Juneteenth and Memorial Day come near the end of the fiscal year, but other than that.
So in
this
other
should not
words,
be an issue.
if employees, because when I talked with the department heads, they wanted it to carry over because they didn't want, they wanted the flexibility of employees, who may have a they may have a holiday towards the end of the fiscal year that they haven't been able to use. And if they're not able to grant them that holiday off, they're going to lose it in the same fiscal year. So the intent, the original intent, was that the floating holidays would carry over into the next fiscal year, and they had to be used in that next fiscal year. If they didn't use them, they would not carry over to the following fiscal year. So that's what that's,
then it needs to
saying.
say
But
that.
it needs to say
Then
that.
we
And
can-
It needs to say it just like that.
okay.
Is that your understanding of what the employees were requesting? Some ability to carry a floating holiday over to the next fiscal year, but not beyond?
Yes, for me, yes.
Okay,
Yeah, that's not really an issue for me.
okay.
Well, you haven't used them yet, I think.
We have a
Yeah.
hard time sometimes using their time. If we wanted to use it, there'd be nobody working for the last 3 weeks of the year or something. So,
Yeah, but
Yeah.
we're only talking about floating holidays for this, so.
Yeah.
It's a
How many-
scheduling thing.
Okay, so my suggestion on that one,
how many hours are in the floating holidays? How many days we have? 10,
no,
14.
14,
Mm-hmm.
and 8 hours of a thing?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I think that's what you have been doing, and there haven't been any difficulties with that I'm aware of.
Do we have floating holidays
I
now?
mean, last year, we did the policy, so.
It might
I
have
had a lot
been
of- I
unofficially
personally had
done.
a lot of time.
Didn't we give, I thought we gave the employees the option of taking one of these days or their birthday.
But that was
the Juneteenth.
Yes.
I mean, was that
Their Juneteenth. Okay, there it is.
vacation or holidays or what was it?
Combination of both holidays.
I mean, part of the reason of having it not carry over is to encourage that it be used and not continue to accumulate, because otherwise the problem only gets
So all
worse and
that's gotta
worse.
say is floating holidays
And you
can
have-
be carried over for
carry
not
over.
more than 1
You also have
year.
a choice of being paid time and a half for it
Time and a
You just
instead.
carry over a certain number of hours following fiscal year on a holiday.
That's what the intent of what was originally here is. And as far as tracking this, I'll be working with Nemrick, because the floating holidays should be tracked separately from your vacation and your sick time.
So
So
does
the-
that system track, like if you take it, you carry over from year one to year two, that in year two, does it know that it's a year one day that's going to expire?
Your policy is what Nemrick would follow to set those parameters up.
So,
But
but
they
does
can
it
do
get
that, because when I
programmed?
worked for the city, we had that, we could carry over comp time.
Yep.
And they had, I think they were like 120 or something, so you could carry that over, and the system knew.
So it knows
I
which,
don't know
it
how
knows
it
which
knew.
hours are from which
So
year.
you get a maximum, and then once you reach that maximum, it won't exceed it, right?
Well,
But you
I-
could carry
They
that
allow
over.
a certain number of hours to be carried over the following year.
Yeah.
And anything over that or.
Right.
And it must be used in that next year.
Previously, we got paid. for
but
it.
my point
Just-
is, the system is going to know what the
Wait for
carryover
something.
hours are, so that like
Somebody
Carrie
sit
doesn't
down.
have to keep
It
track of
moves.
this.
Nemrick will
Because
keep
it
track.
seems like it would be a
That's putting a
nightmare.
lot of faith in a electronic
Just
system.
the present policy
System
has nothing about floating holidays. It does have time and a half, pay compensation if you work a holiday.
Correct.
So we're trying to give you something that the department heads expressed that their employees wanted. And we're just trying to figure out the best way of doing it.
And I think for you, Ed and Dave, you two are the ones where your jobs may require you to work Memorial Day or Christmas Day.
Christmas. Mhm.
Well, I'm gonna be lonely on Juneteenth.
Yeah.
I had two guys work their birthdays because of snow, so.
So,
So the committee, I suppose, should make a change on number 4.
Okay.
just clarify what it is.
Well, we're trying to get this done today.
Right.
So do you have suggested language or do you want me to toss
I
it
think
out?
we're a committee of the whole at this point.
We are?
It's just,
Yeah.
first of all, why don't I make a motion that we adopt both of these, and then if it's
Okay.
seconded, we can discuss and amend.
So moved. Is there a second?
I'll second. Yeah.
Motion seconded to adopt both the paid holidays and the compensatory time policies as presented. All right. And are there any amendments?
For discussion that we can really do now.
Yes.
Yeah.
All of that.
Just think if you're gonna, if we're gonna put a 1 year limit on the floating holidays, is that what I understand is the intent?
Well, that's what we thought the intent was, but Teresa is suggesting it was originally
Ed,
going to
what do
be
you want? What
different.
are you thinking? That if you carry over a floating holiday, they just don't ever go away and you have them?
No, I don't think forever. So.
Okay.
Okay.
Another fiscal year, you should be able to.
And I'm fine with that if Nemrick can be set up to track it, so it doesn't
one
become
fiscal year.
another thing that Carrie has to keep track of.
Okay. So suggested change on the last sentence of paid holidays. Floating holidays do carry over into the next fiscal year and must be used in that fiscal year or will be lost.
So they can be used in the current fiscal year
Or
or
the next.
the next fiscal year.
And then they lose
Then
it.
they're gone.
So Mary, is that
Perfect.
motion
Everybody
to-
understand that? I think so. That's
Yes,
pretty simple.
Matt's just made that motion
All right.
to amend his motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, so we'll take that amendment first. All in favor of the amendment, please say aye.
All right.
Right.
Aye. Motion carries. Now, we're on the main motion, which is adopting comp time policy and paid holidays policy. Is there any further discussion, deletions, amendments?
So just, the comp time is earned at 1.5 hours per hour of overtime, right?
One and a
time-
half times
1.5 times, basically
their
1.5.
pay rate.
Right.
Yes.
Basically
Yep.
1.5 hours.
Yep.
But it's paid out at the regular hourly rate. So if you work 20 hours of overtime, you get 30 hours of comp time, and that 30 hours is paid out at your regular rate.
Yes.
Okay.
Because how it's paid,
all
because you've
good with
already
that?
been awarded.
Yeah.
Because you already have been awarded that time and a half when you earned it.
Right.
Right.
So you just end up, so if you work 20 hours, you could actually take 30 hours off. 30 regular hours off. You work 20 hours overtime. So your guys have the option to do that, whether they get paid for plowing
Okay.
a weekend, or if they would, or if Ed's gotta be at the Cortina keeping company with those folks, you can do it. You guys okay with that?
Yes.
All right, then you understand how, okay, all right. Cause like I say, those are the two departments. This is gonna affect them all.
Absolutely.
So do we need to amend this for Dave's question or no? They don't really care either way. As long as
I
we get
think
it done
that
tonight.
you'll be able to figure out that.
Yeah, I mean, my brain was, like I said, I was a mile and a half that way.
Right, so, but one of the things that
I got
I
it.
think that goes with this, so because we do a bi-weekly paycheck, that overtime is earned in a single week, as you
Correct.
pointed out. So everybody here gets paid every 2 weeks, but if you guys are out winter or even this time of year, if something happens and you're working 2-3 hours extra a couple of days, you know, trees come down or something, at the end of that 1 week. Now, I've heard some issues with NIMRIC, with different things, with payroll deductions and social security and some problems that some of our employees are facing. Will that automatically track that? So what they've put, his employees put down that they work 45 hours week 1 and they work 40 hours or 35 hours. Say they work 35 hours the second week. Does that system smart enough to know that that first week there's 5 hours overtime?
So my understanding, this is not a NEMRIC thing.
Okay.
My understanding, because I did check on that, is that when timesheets are completed, so you do week 1 and week 2, the employees sign off on week 1, Dave and Ed and the department heads approve that. They then do their timesheet for work week 2. That's approved. It's submitted to payroll.
Yep.
Payroll systems, because you're paying bi-weekly, what Kari would be doing is putting in the total number of straight hours, straight time, 80, and the number of overtime hours. If you wanted to find out when employees worked overtime in a work week, you must go back to your record keeping system, which is going to be the timesheet.
So
So NIMRIC is not, it is not, if you were paying weekly,
Yep.
then NIMRIC would set it up so that weekly payroll would show overtime in each week worked. You do bi-weekly. So payroll systems, when the time is entered, the payroll system is going to be time entered for the pay period, which will include your straight hours and your overtime hours. So that's a manual entry by Kari in this example.
So your guys do a timesheet every week? Okay,
Yes.
so they don't do a time week, they're not doing them every other week, they do them every week. Okay, so it's
I
clearly,
try to do them every day just because.
you'll forget.
What did I do last Tuesday? I have no idea.
Yeah.
Does the NIMRIC
Okay.
system
I'm just
track the accrued
looking at
comp time,
possible
or
bugs.
is that something we have to do separately?
I've never had a paycheck, I've
Matt
never
just
worked for
posed a
somebody, so I
question.
don't.
Matt just asked a question.
When I spoke with NEMRIC, what Cynthia explained to me is that that you already have the capability within the system that you purchased. They just need to set up the tracking of vacation, sick time, comp time, floating holiday that, and it's going to be based on whatever your policy says. So she assured me that they do this for other towns and that they do have that, your system does have that capability.
Good.
Any other discussion, amendments, additions, deletions to the two policies under consideration? Ready for the vote? If so, all in favor of adopting compensatory time and paid holidays time policy, please say aye.
Right.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries unanimously. So, do we need to do the effective date as of July 1st?
So, yeah.
I actually, oh, yes.
That was in my motion. I'm pretty sure y'all heard that.
Yeah, I was in there.
Okay, that was in the motion, right? Okay, good. Okay, so as of July 1st, these will take effect. Good. Thank you.
I'm sure we'll see you again soon.
One paycheck away, you know.
Okay, thank you, Teresa.
You're welcome.
All right. I think we are now, I think we've hopped a bit, but now Larry Dell Veneri, Town Transfer Station Manager, and under action items, board to discuss purchase of a trailer for the transfer station generator. That's A.
Yes, okay. So, this all came to light when Dave took the generator from the fire station
Mhm.
and dumped my generator up there at the transfer station.
Yeah.
I sat there and I knew, what the hell am I gonna do with this thing? So, it came up, let's put a building out there next to it so we can hook it up to the building. And, I got some prices on that. And I was looking at an 8x10 building. So just looking at that and asking my contractors and stuff, they said about $6,000, but you have to have louvers put in that thing. So when that thing starts, these louvers open up and let the fresh air in there. We don't know how much it's going to cost until we get the louvers. So looking at it and everything else like that, I studied it quite a bit on your, the easiest thing would put it on a trailer, and when you need it, you pull it out and plug it in. We'd already spent all the money on the transfer switches for the boxes and stuff like that, and the big plugs and stuff like that. We spent good money on that. So that was my idea. If you guys have another idea, I'm willing to listen.
Do we have any idea how much a trailer would cost?
Okay, right now, I'm in the process of getting this generator weighed. See how much it weighs.
Okay.
Okay? I've heard from 1,500 pounds to maybe 2,000 pounds, so a ton. So I can get a trailer
You can weigh it.
for about,
Pick it up with a loader.
pardon?
Dave can weigh it.
Can weigh it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Dave can weigh. it for me.
Don't drop it.
That's how it was moved. It was moved with the loader, and it's a little history on the generator. This generator was donated to the town by Velco. They were putting in a much bigger unit. This generator was tucked into the middle of that building. The louvers do exist for it, but it's just a lot more mechanical stuff to worry about. So it sat at the fire station for several years. We didn't really, it was a 3-phase generator, and we weren't sure get it hooked up. The department decided to put in a standby generator, so they did. This generator made its way to the town garage. Byron took the time to get an electrician in. They set it up with a fuel tank. They set it up with the necessary switches. It's been a pretty long skid, and the plan was anytime it was needed at a highway, they'd fire up the loader, drag it outside, plug it in, and that works great. Or if Larry needed it, they could do that. The problem is Larry's open Saturdays and highway usually doesn't work. So now we got to get somebody to come and get the loader and move this thing. So put it on a trailer. They can hook it to one of the pickups, pull it out of the storage areas underneath, put it outdoors. There will be, the other thing is you don't want this thing running in that transfer station when people are in there, because it's loud and it's noisy. So take it outside, leave it on the trailer, have it mounted. The beauty of the putting it on the trailer, if for some reason it was needed somewhere else, this could power one of our pumping stations in an emergency. It will run both single and three phase, the way it's set up. So
I'm pretty sure some of the pump stations are already set up with a plug for that generator.
So to that, no, if I think there's money in Larry's account, I'd make a motion, we allow him to buy a trailer.
I second it.
Motion's made and seconded to purchase the trailer.
Well, we need some pricing.
Yeah, I think we probably need
Right,
pricing. So,
well-
and instruct Larry to get some numbers.
I
for
think
us.
he already
How's
has
that?
it.
Okay, here's the next problem. I'm at the end of my budget here. If I can get a trailer quick enough, could I get Kari to cut a check for that?
How much?
Right now, no more than 3,000.
And do you have that money in?
I have that money there. That's what I
Which
actually have.
is part of the transfer station? funds?
Yes, I got it right here,
That's
dear.
your maintenance line, right?
I have 3,000 in, let me see it.
Building maintenance.
Station, this one. Maintenance, I have $3,126 in that account.
Okay,
So
so the motion includes
I'm
not to exceed
whatever, yeah.
3,000.
3,000 and money to come from the transfer station maintenance line.
Maintenance one, right.
Because you got two places you're gonna look, either Home Depot or Tractor Supply. Those are the
So
two.
I won't really know anything until I get this thing weighed to exactly know what it weighs.
Know how
Dave's
big of a
offered to
trailer.
help me out.
I think most of those single axles are good for a ton.
Oh.
The one I have at home is 12 by 6 by 12 and it's rated for 2,000 pounds.
The one I'm looking at is $2,300 and it's 2,900 pounds also, so. But I want to make sure that thing is no more
How
than
soon can you weigh that? for,
2,000
Dave?
pounds.
We do it tomorrow. That's how, with the loader, that's how we got it to where it is now. We just
Right.
pick it up and-
That's got the weight block.
Turn the scale on it.
That'll give you a pretty good idea. I don't think it would weigh more than a ton.
I can't, I've figured 100 is.
I think I said it in,
It's all
I
there.
said it in the station. I unloaded it with loader backhoe.
Like Dave said, there's no tin in that one.
No,
That's all.
That's a rugged thing.
yeah. So that'd
Okay.
be good.
So motion's been made and seconded to authorize the purchase of a trailer for the generator at the transfer station. Cost of the trailer not to exceed $3,000 and money to come from the maintenance line at the transfer station budget.
And I have,
Further discussion? If not,
Do you have
All
further
in-
discussion?
yeah. That's if I can get a check from Kari. I don't know if that's legal or not.
well, if
For
we
her to write on.
authorize it tonight, she does pay in another couple of weeks, all in this fiscal year.
Yeah.
So you gotta.
Okay, just
yeah.
as long as I'm not getting her in any hot water.
I don't think so.
If,
Do we have to like reapprove
mean-
it as part of the orders?
if, depending on where you buy it, the town has a credit card. Can,
It does,
have a
but
credit
it
card
wouldn't get back
that
here
we
until
put through-
after.
Don or not?
Sure, we have enough limit on any card to do that.
I mean, if you buy it from Home Depot,
That's where I'm gonna get it. That's where I'm planning to get it from.
we don't have a Home Depot card, but I do. All of us do.
But that Home
Yeah,
Depot
we-
card is no good for me because I won't get the bill until July.
Right.
Right.
Well, you can get, Dell, you can get the receipt from the purchase and use that and don't worry
Right.
about the bill. You can use the receipt to pay the bill.
Right. When you buy that, if you put it on a credit card, they're gonna give you a ticket. That ticket can go to Kari. She can cut the check for the next meeting. And then when the bill comes due, if you put it on your own personal card. I mean,
Okay.
that's, sometimes that may
Probably
be
not good policy.
not the best, but
We have a Home Depot
Okay,
charge count card.
Okay.
yes.
if we have a Home Depot
We
card,
all
then we
set?
can-
We haven't voted on the motion yet.
I think we already spent the money, but.
I think we spent the money, but we haven't voted on the motion.
Yeah.
Okay. All in favor of the motion, please say aye.
I,
Aye. Anyone opposed? It's unanimous. Okay.
Anything else? For me?
You were the one here spending money. No.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, the table.
Yeah,
Yeah, the table,
okay.
which is the table
The
back?
reason that table was taken down, people were putting inappropriate stuff on the table.
Jeez.
and they were putting stuff on the table that was no good, and
Only in
the town
Rutland
has
town.
to get rid of that stuff.
That's fine.
It's okay with you, dear.
Well,
You just throw it in the compactor, right?
yeah. I mean, are we talking tons and tons of things or the occasional thing?
They're little things, but you know, they're taking some people take advantage of stuff like
Well,
that.
are you there? I mean, you guys are mostly there. You mean people
We're
come in and
all
put
over that
things-
place.
Put things in there and walk away and you don't notice it
That's
until they're
right.
gone. Okay.
Yes,
Heavy-
and
heavy
the
kids.
inappropriate stuff was, I have a lot of kids that went to that table.
Mhm. Yeah.
Thank
You put
God.
a little
we
sign
caught
up. Yeah. Okay. Just put a little sign up.
it. Mary, people
Good.
don't read.
Good Lord, he's got signs
Have
all
signs
over.
up all
over
over
here.
that place.
And you still follow him around, don't you?
Yes, I still follow them around. Yes, so
Human
Ah.
nature.
I would love to put that table back up there
Mm-hmm.
if you guys are behind it.
I think you should.
So,
Right? It gives people a chance to recycle some stuff, but a caution, people don't put inappropriate material on there. Throw it away, and don't put stuff that's crappy and in bad repair. Throw it away.
yeah,
So we have a
they're
dump
not
for it.
like that.
Their
They're
transfer station,
Right.
right?
And they're right there. Guess where they could dump it?
cost money to do that.
Well, that's right.
Think how much stuff we pull out of the brush pile.
Oh, I would, because
Yeah.
I did green up day on Creek Road and
You don't have to pay for it.
I know how
boy.
crappy it was. So, yeah.
To let you know, Green Up Day, we took in 147 bags.
Okay.
So hazardous waste day, we shipped away 10,000 pounds.
Okay.
Pretty
No,
good.
5 tons.
Yeah.
Pretty good.
Good, good, good. Yeah.
Okay,
All right.
thank you.
Thank you very much.
I like him for parts.
Thanks, Joe.
Thanks, Ray.
Okay, next on the agenda, Dave Sears, Town Road Commissioner. That.
Official good evening now.
Hey, Dave.
Talking half the night. Not really a lot. Try to get this over quickly. One day last week, we rebuilt a culvert inlet and a head wall on Sunset Drive. We hauled some stone for the Annette Terrace project that we got coming up. Spent quite a bit of time last week or so cleaning up after the post road paving, doing edges and all of that stuff.
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome. We painted the intersection yesterday. At Squares intersection, as we affectionately refer to it now, because he's pretty much adopted it. Today we went to Deborah Drive and David Road, and we replaced one culvert and did away with an unnecessary culvert. It was just it was a culvert that was put in apparently when they built the house, and there's no ditching anywhere else, and it rose to the surface. It was pretty amazing, really.
Yeah.
So that just all went away. We got to get back in there when the weather's decent and pave those. I want to try to put together a couple different paving projects for a day, so we don't just do one or two. And then just as a kind of a side note, I did get preliminary approval from V-Trans for the Class 2 paving grant for this year. It's not official yet, but they did recommend it to wherever it goes, from District 3 to wherever it goes. So it
Has it ever been denied?
was denied last year.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so it's our turn to get it.
That's our turn. Yeah.
Okay.
And that's where we are.
Two things from meetings. The Simons Avenue Route 4 intersection, do we need to get somebody to meet with us to look at that, to try to reconfigure that, to do something about the cars zipping right up
I
through?
suppose we can try. I don't know. I mean, we were
I don't know
talking
if
about getting,
have to get Gowetts involved, because however, that'll be reshaped to a T, so
Yeah.
cars have to actually stop.
Yep.
Or make a right turn, so that's the only way to slow them down.
Mhm.
And we keep talking, we haven't done anything, and then I can't remember what we needed to do following our discussion of the Green Mountain Plaza. Traffic study, The one we have is not,
Not good.
okay.
I
Question
have
is-
had preliminary discussion with the regional planning commission. They would be, I hesitate to say willing. They would be the resource to help us get it done.
Okay,
So they've got some projects, but they are aware of it. So I got to loop back with them next week. So
okay. Because I'm not sure why a traffic study would be involved, but that was one of the things that was brought up because we're not changing any we're changing the pattern, but not the flow of traffic.
Right.
The same number of cars.
we're going to need the investment from the state for the traffic light.
Right.
So there's going to be a new arm, a new light, and some work there. So
Yeah,
that's gonna be our
have the
part.
proper number of lights for the proper number of lanes,
Right.
unlike
Longer
other
arm, a
places.
new light. So yeah.
Yeah, we can go up on Route 4 and take one of those because there's one extra light there and there's an extra one on Strong's Avenue.
Yeah, yeah, we grab some of those.
3 lights for 2 lanes. I don't understand it because it confuses the daylights out of traffic. Yeah, those are my 2 questions. So, I don't know if that guy we had here when we talked about the Green Mountain Plaza, if he'd be the resource we need to talk to.
Probably. He sounds like he's took over for this area. So
All right, so maybe we need to talk with him, see what he says, and then we can schedule a meeting
Yeah.
on a rainy day.
I've also been asked while we're doing that, if they do the traffic light reconfiguring, to have them add preemption to that.
Yeah.
For emergency services.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That one doesn't have preemption.
Really?
Coal River does, Windcrest.
That's an oops.
Yeah, all the other ones, Hannaford's doesn't.
Yeah.
That's the one that doesn't have it. And we were trying to get it. The Clarendon Fire Department was trying to get it put on there because when we come down through out of the city, that's kind of a hairy intersection.
Yeah.
all the new ones are Opticoms now. They're
Yeah.
no more sound.
No, they're all Opticoms.
Okay.
We're outfitting all of our trucks with them now.
Matt has something?
So I guess something to file away for 10 years from now, but I did get a citizen comment that the paving of Post Road, that maybe wait until after school's out to do it.
We had to get it done,
Control,
we had to
yeah.
get it done in the fiscal year though. It was money that was kicked back to us from V-Trans for Town Line Road. Windows only so big.
Under normal
They got
conditions,
over
you'd, yeah, the kids had some entertainment for what, a day or 2?
Made it work.
Yeah.
A couple of days.
It's the end of school year. They all want to go home. They don't want to be there.
Nope.
So, anyhow.
Anybody have anything else, Sharon? All
So
set?
I see a highlighted thing here about a highway department truck for sale.
Okay.
Oh, suddenly I
Action.
understand the color coding.
Or to open bids for highway department truck offered for
The
sale.
color coordinated things.
I have told just about
Where are the
everybody,
bids?
everybody I could
You
think
have
of.
all of them on your desk.
I don't seem to have any.
So
Okay.
at this point, would it be okay to go talk to some folks and see if they're interested, seeing as though we've got nowhere?
Was this the second time we went out to
Second
bid?
time.
Second time,
I
yeah.
mean, we heavily advertised this.
Either
We have.
that or we send it to Berlin, put it through the state auction.
Can we do that?
You want to trade it?
They just had it. Like
Or
a
if we
month
just put
ago
it
or
out here
something.
with a sign.
I think I have another one in the fall.
We could do that too.
Maybe, I'm not sure,
I thought
but
they were up to doing.
Where, is it inside now or outside?
it's outside.
So it's not taking up any additional, I'm just thinking that,
Put it at the transfer station, right there at the,
On the tape.
you know what I want to say?
on the table.
You want to buy an excavator for the town. I would go up and talk to Gardner. We have a truck. What do you think? Yes, no? I mean, that's the way I would.
Yeah.
But
I don't know trucks. It's got some value, right?
it's with a new sander, 1 year of
Yeah.
use. The body's a little tough, but with a new body on that truck or even some work, that's a $10,000 or $15,000 truck.
So I went online, I went on the NADA and, I did low book on it. And I didn't really include the sander and the plow, just the truck itself. For what it is, low book was 13. So that's when we listed it the first time, we put a minimum on it of 13 and got nothing. So then we put it out again this time with no minimum and we still got nothing.
I know two
So-
people that seemed like they were interested. I gave them all of the information, but obviously they didn't want to bid it.
Yeah, I talked to somebody that was gonna put a bid in on it too, but
Yeah, so I don't understand. I mean, I've talked to several people. I mean, that's just a thought. I mean, I don't know if that is something we could do. I don't know what the board thinks.
what do you think on it? A little bit.
Might be worth parking it out here and put a for sale sign, see what
I want
somebody.
to bring it
offers.
to the farm and park it there and put a for sale sign on it. You're more than welcome.
Move it around once a week.
Every week.
Yeah, I mean, if you
Put it in
could,
the driveway.
Put down the
you
soccer
could, you could
field.
go to
We'll just
Joey's, you
move around
could put
town.
it up on our
Well, Mary's
farm,
got a spot
either
on
on
Clerk
Seven
Road.
or on
Maybe,
East
maybe
Pittsburgh
that's the
Road.
answer. I mean, I don't know. Because you can't put a for sale sign where it is, because you and the other three guys and soccer players are gonna see it.
Pretty much.
So if you want to try that, you're more than welcome to bring it to the.
Raffle it off at the townwide celebration.
Raffle.
We'd
I
have to
was trying to
sell.
think of, yeah, maybe we could just have,
If
if
we-
it's
we-
still
we-
around.
We want to sell about 1,000 tickets for $100 a ticket.
that'd be fine.
We could sell 1,000. I mean, I'd probably buy a couple, but. No, I can't bid it. We can't, because that would look like.
Matt and I have experience
Yeah.
running a raffle for,
Oh.
big
I'd
bucks.
have Rose buy the tickets.
Of course.
Rose is very lucky when she buys raffle
Okay.
tickets. I don't know, but
So.
You wanna
we're
try
open to
that route?
Suggestions, yeah.
I mean, we look at some different avenues.
I will mention this again to two folks. I mean, I think that you could probably talk to Gardner. He probably might be interested in just buying it outright at this point.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah, I have a feeling I know what Gardner would offer for it.
Well, we
we
can
don't have to
reject
accept it.
Yeah,
Right.
You know,
yeah.
he wants to buy low and.
Tell him
sell high.
15
That's the
and
way
you'll
he's
give it
staying.
to him
That's
for
how he's
13.
made his millions.
Right, but I mean, I think that we should authorize Dave to pursue some more creative ways to sell it.
Okay,
And, you know,
Maybe
and
swing
you're
in
gonna have to ask us for approval for whatever you get for
Right.
price.
Yeah.
Swing it in carries. They were the last one to have the winning bid on it.
I mean,
See
they
if
could
they'll-
have it for half of what they offered to pay for it the first time.
Mhm. Yeah.
Well, yeah, maybe.
And a good place on my farm is on is on Route 7.
Mhm.
Cause I have like a space there that you could pull the truck in and put a sign.
hey Sharon.
Yeah.
If we still have it come townwide celebration, could we do something?
Why not?
Like stick a sign on it as part of
Park it
the.
there with a for sale sign. I don't know.
Yeah,
If if you're gonna raffle it off, you have to sell a minimum number of tickets and they have
Yeah.
to be,
that's
because you want to cut
Yeah.
it.
yeah.
But if somebody came to that, cause
Right. If
think
we still
it's-
have it, put it out there. This
Yeah.
truck is for sale. You can own it. And this is the price.
Or
Yep.
best offer.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, we have a plan.
Right.
Dave's gonna be creative and fallback is Sharon at townwide celebration.
Like I say,
Okay.
Okay,
but you know, like I say, you can bring it to the farm.
and I'm right on 7,
Right.
our entrance on 7, and I don't know what Steve was thinking when he did it, but there's a great big space there.
For selling
Oh.
town trucks or
Selling
your
town trucks.
vehicles
Yeah,
or.
it's for sale.
You know,
Sell
Out of the
stuff.
future.
Sharon's Street Post.
Can't believe nobody wants that truck.
somebody does. They just don't
We
know
did,
it
we
yet.
haven't found the right owner, the right person yet. It's,
I mean, especially somebody that's just starting out sanding and doing that stuff. You would think, but
Yeah. Nobody's thinking about snow right now.
John Jasper
nobody
showed up the
wants
other
to
day. I
think
mean,
about snow right now.
Yeah.
He came and looked at it and
he'd offer you like half,
yeah,
or if that.
if.
If.
I mean, I told him what we had the minimum on it. He goes, "You had 13,000 on it?" And like nobody bid on it. I'm like, nope.
But he didn't any up 13 grand.
No.
Okay,
All right.
I think that's it for Dave.
That's it?
right?
Yes.
Thank you
I'm
very
out.
much.
Thank you guys.
Okay. Marcia Chioffi, Town Head Lister. Good evening, Marcia.
Good evening, Mary. Before I get into my report, listening to Teresa Mealy, before your board meeting, or as your board meeting, my department has never been contacted by Teresa. We have had no contact whatsoever with her.
And we said I do remember you had raised it before and we said we were gonna have her talk with you.
Right.
Yeah.
And she
Okay.
has not. And when I talked to her, not too long ago, she said, well, you're not a town employee, so I don't have to talk to you. Excuse me. I am a voted lister in the town of Rutland. Our department is the one that sets the tax rates, that lodges the grand list. I don't know. I just don't know, Mary, what Teresa's thinking is in all of this.
The handbook, we had asked her to be in touch with you, but the handbook we're working on is for not for non-exempt town employees, which means the elected officials aren't covered by this. So that could be, I mean, she could have said something like that, or she might have thought she had said, but still, I think I'll make a note. I've made a note to have her check in with you on that, because you're going to be using the same timesheets as other folks anyway, at the minimum. So you should at least give her the benefit of your wisdom on that. Sorry about that, Marcia.
Well, what are we covered under? I mean, we're kind of just out there in La La Land, you know, with nobody asking us, or I just don't know,
Well,
Mary. I just don't know.
Yeah, well, remember there's a budget, and so to the extent that there is a budget that funds your department, that is, you know, part of what governs you. The townspeople set your budget and your rate of pay,
right,
by voting on the budget. So you're not totally out there in La La Land. You have a budget. But the reverse is the select board doesn't tell you how to run your office. So we can control people who are employees of the town in the sense that we hire and fire them, but elected officials are different. I don't know how else to explain it. We're respecting your independence and giving you the money to run your office, but we're not doing some of the minutiae that we can do with our employees that we hire.
Well, but what do I tell my employees as to, you know, time off, vacation time, sick time, whatever, you know?
You don't have employees. You have fellow listers who are also elected officials.
So are you saying, Mary, that she can make her decision independently of us?
Keeping in mind that she has the budget that guides things. Now, when we get around to adopting the policy for the non-exempt employees, for the employers that we hire and fire, then parts of that will be pulled out and will be applied to the exempt or elected officials. We get to do that as a separate thing, but we were trying just to do the employees that we directly hire and fire, and not the people who are elected by the voters.
Okay.
Not a perfect system, but we're trying to piece our way through this thing. Did I answer your question? Did I?
Well, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I understand where Marcia's coming
Yeah.
from, because comp time and all that, they have to deal with too. So I guess if I'm hearing her right, she's asking, are we going to have input? And I'm kind of surprised that Teresa would come back that way, that I don't have to talk to you, because
yeah, it doesn't. But
and I would be offended if I was her in that percent. So,
well, why is it that my department is the only one that has not been visited by Teresa Mealy. Why?
Marcia, your department is all elected officials.
Well, there are
And that
other
may be-
elected officials in the town. Kari's an elected official. The select
but she
board
also-
are, yeah,
None
You
of
know-
this applies to us, Marcia. None of
Right.
it.
That's right.
Doesn't apply.
And
So I'm
Susan say,
I'm just
Hired
left
by-
out there in La La Land, and I do what I want to do, and I don't have to abide by any of the town edicts. Is that right?
Kind of.
Well, Marcia, the
kinda,
way I
sorta.
would word it is, you are an independent elected official, and we are respecting that. So yes, you do have the ability to set your own hours, to decide among the three of you who's going to work when.
Which we do.
Two, yeah, okay.
and you work within the confines of the budgets that was approved. So there's an hourly rate for and there's a set amount of hours, so.
Correct.
And I
Right.
know there's different things, and at some point, the personnel policy, we will get to the elected officials and how the policy is interpreted for them. It's taken us a year or better just to do this part. And so, and we do have that combination of,
I don't know. I think we've been working on this thing ever since I got on the board.
yeah, well, this is a new improved version.
Yeah, we're 3 years into this mess.
Yeah.
Well, the problem is there were things that were
We tried to build our own,
Yeah.
let go for too many years. And
and
we're
then we
lucky
tried to
that we
build
didn't get
something ourselves, which was okay, and then we found a lot of holes in it, and then we hired somebody to fill the holes, and they brought more challenges and hole filling material, so we're getting there, but there is light at the end of the tunnel. We made a big improvement tonight, so.
All right.
But I don't
well,
think anybody's being overlooked or,
I will ask Teresa to visit with you, okay?
All right. Well, she has told me that she would be willing to visit with me, but I haven't had any, anything from her. So anyway, that
Okay.
aside, we're just about done with all of our site visits. We have 2 more, and hopefully we will be done with those this week. Marie and I have been working tirelessly to get together and do what needs to be done to lodge the grand list. Hopefully, we'll lodge it within the next 2 weeks, set a tax rate, and it'll be done.
Okay. Good, thank you very much. A lot of work.
Yeah. lot of
Anything
work.
you need from us right now?
No, not from you, but we need from the general public, because we still have people that we have contacted that have not responded to us, and we still need to get out and visit their sites. So we're just going to pop in on them and say, here we are.
Fair enough.
Yeah, fair enough.
Matt's got something.
So I'm not sure if this is necessarily a question for Marcia or for discussion, but we spoke last time about the fact that Jack has resigned and whether we should appoint somebody. Marcia recommended that we do not. I was just thinking about that. And I guess what would happen is if we do nothing, then there would be, I don't remember when his term was up. Maybe it's up next year anyway. So there would be an election. Somebody hopefully will run for it.
Correct.
I wonder, in the meantime, we'd be sort of squandering a year potentially for somebody who might be interested in a job to use the allocated budget and time for training
I
that
think we
should be done to maybe hit the ground running by the time.
Technically, it's supposed to be on the election in August.
I guess that's my question. Of all the other things that we talked with Kevin about, I didn't ask him that.
Yeah. There's also a cemetery commissioner spot that's
Uh-huh.
lost. That was on a few elections.
Maybe
and
we
it
need
got
to just
lost.
advertise it for that. It just seems to me that if somebody thinks that they're going to be interested in that job, that, it might be useful for them to start doing some
3 or 4
training
votes.
so that
Well-
next year at this time, some idea of what's going on. Because
Well, yeah,
otherwise, they're gonna be spending more time getting up to speed.
Well, at this
30%.
time, I mean, we're dealing with several different, computer. It's difficult. It's really, really difficult. We've got VT Pi, we've got Nimerick, we've got the grand list, and it's, Marie and I have everything under control. We've got 2 more visits we have to make, and we will be done with, setting the values of these, properties, and, so hopefully we will be, able to be done, probably by the mid of June.
Jack had a 3-year term, which just started.
Oh, did you hear that, Marcia?
What's that? No, Mary, I did not.
Okay, Bill advises that Jack has a 3-year term that just started.
Yes, he does. Yep. I
Okay.
do know that. Yep.
If we appoint somebody, or if we appoint somebody, they will have to run in February or in August.
And-
Because I believe that's what we ran into last year. We had the special election for the town public safety building. We appointed somebody in April, March or so. And then
But
we,
that select board's a little different from other
but-
officers,
but
but I don't
I
know.
believe that we appointed Marie, and then Marie had to run when we had the special election.
Okay.
Right.
So
But
if we
then-
appoint somebody, so what I think we should do, and maybe we have to, this is another thing, advertise that position. If somebody's interested, they can get a petition and run in August to fill the vacancy created by Jack's resignation. And they would be filling out, I do believe they would be able to finish his term.
Yeah.
That
would
was
be
my
the-
next question is, does the August election then fill his term, or does that only go through the next regular election and that?
I think it fills the term.
I think it would be to complete his term, so.
Yep.
It would be for 2.5 years. But that would be, I think that's a question for Kevin, because we need to talk about this. We either need to fill it now or fill it in November, or have somebody run that in August or November for that position. And that way, as they're getting geared up, because we're kind of getting into the little slower time, then when things start in the winter and fall for the listers, when you've got property to do and stuff, it would be nice to have somebody on board that was getting familiar, rather than dump somebody in there March to finish out a 2-year term, because it's a 3-year term, I believe, Bill.
Yeah.
So,
When it came to the board position, the statute said shall for
Yes,
reappointing, so
yeah.
it would be whatever the.
Yeah.
I don't know if we
Talk to
have to appoint a lister, but I do believe if we appoint somebody, they have to run at the next election.
Well, it would also give us a chance if we at least advertised it. It would tell us what the interest is within the town.
I think we
And
should.
that may guide us as to whether we stay with listers or whether we go with some other system.
Well, and
Right.
as I spoke with you, Mary, about the fact that, we do away with the Board of Listers in one of the elections, and then we go with a appointed assessor, and they're people that would work with them.
So, and
We had talked about this
we did.
for the last 8 years about
I
what to
know.
do.
Well,
how to do
yeah,
that, yeah.
that's true. We have to, it has
Hire
come up
someone.
and we have talked about
But
it.
we haven't come up with a plan.
No, and
Transition planning, I think it's up there. Succession.
I have, like I have said to you, Mary, I've got 2 more years and I'm out of here. And you have to think about what you want to do going forward, whether you want to go with an assessor or with another board of listers.
And I think if we want to move to the assessor issue, it has to be on the ballot this coming March. in order
Absolutely.
for us to
Yes.
make it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
It does.
we got Got some discussion to do, but we got a little time.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, I will get information from Kevin.
Okay, other than that, on the Lister, on the Lister edition, we are pretty close to closing up all of our site visits. We have tomorrow we are going to Starbucks to assess that property. We did Splash Holdings last week, which was that was a lot of fun. Measuring every single part of the Splash Holdings building, here, there, and everywhere, and 2 stories, 1 story, whatever. But we got it done, and other than that, I think we've only got maybe 1 more household that we have to visit, and we're done. So
Good. Good. Well, that a lot of work for you and Marie, and thank you very much.
Oh, you're welcome. Yeah, it has been a lot of work, but it's been fun too. It really has been eye-opening to a lot of different parcels, a lot of different homes, a lot of different commercial buildings. So,
Okay. Any further questions for Marcia? Okay. Have a good rest of your evening, Marcia.
thank you, Mary. Good night.
Thank you.
Right.
Okay. Chris Clark, Town Fire Chief.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Just a couple things tonight. All 8 of our fire trucks have been inspected. 1 failed just for the time being. They get the parts. Everything else passed with some minor repairs. Let's see. I told you last time we did participate in those 2 Memorial Day parades, so we went to those. And let's see here. I got one thing to ask tonight. And 2 of our engines, we have thermal imaging cameras. They're probably 10 years old or so. The batteries are no good and obsolete. We cannot get new ones. So we've been kind of shopping around for a couple new cameras. Our preferred vendor is Reynolds, which they wouldn't even come show us a camera because what they have is discontinued. So we called a couple different places. 1 camera, and I can't even remember the name of it. The guy couldn't come and give us a demonstration, so he mailed it to me. Got here Friday, so I showed everybody last night at our meeting. And we had one other guy come, and he actually came and did a good demonstration. He's actually a member of the Pulteney Fire Department, and he sells the FLIR, F-L-I-R camera, which is the one we are interested in. So since the budget is at the end of the year, this is why I'm asking. In my total budget, I have about $36,000 left over. And each camera, since we're looking for 2, there's 3 choices here. There's, as a department, we're kind of going with the middle choice, which is $5,400 a piece, plus $800 for the truck charger. So it's about $6,200. So for 2 of them, it's a little over $12,000. So I'm looking to get approval, if I could, for tonight to order 2 of these so I can buy them with this year's budget.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion's been made to approve and it's been seconded. A request. And which vendor is this? Is this FLIR?
The camera's name is FLIR. The guy's company is New York Fire Equipment, LLC.
Chris, did you get any
Right.
feedback from him. He's a Pulteney firefighter, right? Is that what you said?
Yes, I did talk to the fire chief in Pulteney. They've bought, it's either 3 or 4. But he said no complaints. They did get a couple of the top choice, and he said it's just a pain in the neck to get the battery out. That's why we're thinking to go with choice number 2. He's got one of those also, and they're all identical. They're just one has a little more capability, I guess. But that was his only complaint with the top one was you need a special, some kind of Allen wrench or something to get the battery out. That was his only complaint.
Yeah.
Suggestion, and that is that we add New York Fire Equipment LLC to our preferred vendor list, because it sounds like otherwise we'd have to go out to bid because it's over 5,000. Kurt, you have information about this company or the product?
We have 2 of the FLIR cameras.
Okay.
I think FLIR was actually one of the first in the game back when they first started coming out. They're good cameras.
But we don't know anything about the vendor. They could come from other places, I assume.
Well, yeah, the fact that Pulteney has 2 and they're one of the firefighters sells them. They have some.
This stuff gets tricky, especially in fire service, because you have to work with who's got the product and who's local, so you can get them serviced.
Yeah.
So it gets tricky with the purchasing policy.
I'm not thrilled about buying from somebody that doesn't come and do a demonstration. And this other guy did, and he put some time in, and we have found, well, I did from my time there, that the people that take the time to come and talk to you are the people you can usually depend on.
They'll show up if there's a
my
problem.
own personal thing, I would like to see us, stay with Reynolds, but Reynolds left out of Rutland, so we're working out of Barry. But they're honest enough to tell Chris that what they have now is not, they're going to be obsolete. So that means MSA is coming out with something new. We did have some MSA cameras. I think we got them, or wherever we got them. They were pretty good cameras, but I wouldn't want to wait 6 months without these in service. So I think that's a pretty good option. So,
okay. So
question.
Yeah. Matt.
Chris, you said there was 36,000 left in your budget. Is that as of now, or is that projected that you would have left by the end of the fiscal year?
After I did the bills on Friday, I took my sheet that Susan and Kari print out, and I just subtracted all what I just paid. So, and it's not an exact amount because there's a couple time cards, so I'm assuming there's Social Security in there, but should be close.
Well,
A little over 36,000 left.
Okay, I guess my question is, how much more do you need to get through the end of the year?
The trucks got inspected, so
trucks are
that's
all
the big
done.
wild card.
did
the yearly wild card?
Did the bill for the inspections, did we sign for that tonight, or will that be in 2 weeks?
No, you should have them there tonight.
Could be there tonight. So this
Except
is
for the tanker, because they're waiting for parts. So that'll be there in 2 weeks.
Yeah, but we're not going to spend
So it's
24,000.
tanker repairs plus one more pay period? Is that right?
Yes.
So do you have any sense of how much that might be? I mean, so the point being here is that this expenditure we would want to come in under budget, not end up pushing it over budget at the end of the year.
Right. I mean, I have no idea how much the tanker is going to be, but it can't be over a couple $1,000s. And
I can't imagine it'd be 24,000.
No.
Or even,
and I'm assuming right now, if with the like time card thing, there might be 2 time cards. I wouldn't expect 1,000,000 hours on them. So I think we would have plenty of leftover money for the last couple weeks of June.
So
okay, the motion's been made and seconded, right? We did.
Yep.
To approve the purchase of 2 thermal imaging cameras at a cost of $5,400 each, and $800 times 2 for, what was it, in the
Truck chargers.
truck chargers?
Yep.
For a
And,
total of 12,000?
1,400, I think is what it was.
12,400.
It would be 12,400, and he did write on his quote right here that shipping is usually between $150 and $200. So I don't know if I want to add that in there, but
6.
Yeah.
Not to exceed 13,000?
Yeah. There you
How's
go.
that? Okay.
Yep.
Did I hear that?
Yep.
The 13,000
Yeah,
is
you
the
did
cap?
hear that.
Okay.
Yep.
Thought I did. Any further discussion or questions? It does sound like, well, the department did not go out to bid. They did contact 3 vendors. Reynolds who was our preferred vendor, is not selling the product. The other 2, the department came up with an acceptable product based upon the representation of the person who actually came. Anything further? If not, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. Opposed? None? Motion carries. Okay, you're all set, Chief.
all right. Thank you very much. That's all I had for tonight.
Any questions of the fire chief? All right, thank you, Chris.
Thank you.
All right, Kari Clark, Town Clerk and Treasurer. Good evening.
Good evening. Let's see. I don't have a whole lot of my own stuff to share. I just know that there's a few things under action needed that probably have to do with me. I see letter F, Vermont Child Care Contribution.
Yeah.
Last time we talked about it and we tabled it for this meeting, and I said that I was going to give you an estimate. And so I did. I had to do a report for the calendar year of 23, and I had to submit it. So I used the number, which was a little over $1 million in payroll that we paid out in that calendar year, and I multiplied it by the 0.0044 if we were to approve doing the town paying for the whole contribution, and it was roughly $4,700. So I would estimate between $4,700 and $5,000 for our budget year. Going into our budget year, the town paid for the childcare contribution on behalf of all the employees.
Okay. And what was the other option, that we could pay for 2/3 and have the employees pay for 1/3? Is that right?
Yeah, the employees would be 0011, and then the town would be 0.3.
That's a quarter.
So a quarter and 3/4?
Yeah.
Okay.
1 is a quarter.
Okay, that's even. All right. So thank you. Appreciate the numbers. That's helpful. And we need to decide, because we got
One more pay period.
one more
and then
pay
it starts.
period before the withholding, if that's what we're going to do, starts.
We pay for it all. Where? What line, where would we take this since we didn't budget it?
Just
Any ideas, Kari?
I really don't have an idea. I was hoping that you guys would come up with an answer for that.
it would be an extra, instead of a social security charge or a VEMR's charge, it would be like something that doesn't exist in our budget line.
But if
Right.
we withdrew it from one of
line.
the existing
ahead.
lines, run, I'm just trying to think, you really wouldn't, you shouldn't take it from one of the other existing lines, because that wouldn't be accurate.
Your payroll just
Yeah, it would
goes
be-
over budget.
Right, and it's in each department it goes over budget, because this would be spread over each
So
department.
every department that has a payroll, fire, police, rec,
Yeah.
General is going to have a new item starting on July 1st. You're talking maybe 1,000, depending on the hours. If you divided it, it would be somewhere between 1,000 and thereabouts per department, but it won't be quite because there's 4 highway and then 4 police, but we have less, well, about even. Actually, it might be pretty even. So each budget's going to go over about $1,000.
Or $250 per quarter, right? It's a quarterly payment, right?
Yes, it is.
Yeah. So, I mean, we can
make new line items for each department. It's sort
and
of
it'll just be. Yeah. If we made new line items for each department to cover this, the town picks up the cost, roughly $5,000, which isn't going to break. And then the only thing we're dealing with is, and you won't have that item is going to be in the red for the entire year because we didn't budget anything, but the overall budget more than likely won't go over. And it'll be in there. So $1.2 million we have in the general budget, you know, we're talking $1,000, and the general is kind of covered by the 1%. All the other budgets, you know, Chris just said he's got about 3,600 now. They would take it out probably once out of, because they're employees. The overall department gets paid once a year. The officers, when they put in the extra work time, that would be deducted each time. You would see that.
Well, we'd be saving our employees a little teeny bit.
Yeah, they get a little. It's another small fringe benefit Rutland Town is offering its employees.
So is that a motion?
Yeah, I'll make that a motion that we pay it.
Okay. So the motion is made and seconded that we pay the entire amount of the child care contribution, estimated to be somewhere around $5,000 for all of total for the town for our employees. Discussion.
I'm making my employees contribute.
You're tough.
Well, that way they see it on their paycheck and they know where our money's going.
Mike,
I'm not advocating. I'm just saying my employees are going to be contributing.
Any discussion?
Get them out to the polls to vote.
My only concern is how the state administrates it, and we have nothing to say
right.
about that. But we do need to make sure when we talk to the people that represent Rutland Town, that we make them aware that this better not be.
Yeah, don't do
wandered
this
away.
again.
Oh, they're going to blow it just like they always do.
Well, I'm just worried that it'll go into a fund, and this is going to generate a lot of money statewide. And the people that need the assistance with healthcare or daycare or childcare are not going to get it, and there's no way around it.
Could be. Any other comments? If not, all in favor of the town paying the entire cost of the child care contribution, estimated to be approximately $5,000 for the year, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Nope. Motion carries and it's unanimous. Okay. All right.
So I don't have anything else. I don't know if you want to go over anything else. We did have the school election last week, and it did pass. I'm sure most people have heard by now that it passed. So we shouldn't have too many issues with getting the tax rate set and moving forward from there, which is a good thing on our part.
Yes, relief. Okay, so we have 3 other things. One is the town clerk and treasurer's pay request, so let's take that up now. You'll recall at our last meeting that Kari had previously met with the personnel committee and then asked for one of 2 things, pointing out that she had extra work resulting, I think, primarily from the 2 special elections. I don't want to paraphrase, and she can correct me if I'm misstating that. And was looking for either, she informed us that she would either be working just 40 hours, coming in at her usual time and leaving at 4:30 or so and doing nothing further outside of regular working hours, or she requested overtime to be paid for her extra hours. So the board asked, me and Matt, I think, to look into, first of all, can we pay overtime? And then what is the law on overtime pay? Are we required to work over or pay overtime and so on? So we're going to try, and between Matt and I, we did speak to Town Council Kevin Brown, as you requested. We're subject to a couple of laws. One is the state laws on overtime and wages, but the one that trumps both is the federal Wages and Hours Act. So that's pretty much what Kevin was referencing. There is no requirement because Marcia is an elected official. There is no
Kari.
Sorry, Marcia is trying to no. That Kari is an elected official. There's no requirement that we pay her overtime. The question is, can we pay her overtime? And the summary that Kevin gave us was the town can pay an exempt employee overtime or can pay an exempt employee remuneration on an hourly basis as long as the task is something extra or in addition to their regular or daily duties. And his comment, after hours work to staff elections is probably okay. So extra pay for extra things not anticipated, not part of the general charges of the town clerk or town treasurer. Am I paraphrasing so far?
I think I'm with you so far.
Okay, all right.
If I'm tracking him correctly.
Okay. So the question is, that's part one. Part two is there any threshold at which, and this has been raised in the past, at which we have to pay overtime if somebody is below a certain salary level? And there is a law that says minimum salary to be eligible for this exemption is $35,000 a year. It carries well above that. So, the exemption that would require us to pay her overtime, we're way over that. So we are not required to pay overtime. Okay.
So does that explanation, for me, the most close comparison would be highway.
Okay.
Our road commissioner is a commission. He's a salaried employee. He doesn't work hourly. So would we be denying him if we didn't pay him? And I bring this up is because I'm thinking of the March storm. And so the 2-week period ended on Friday. Saturday, they come in and they plow 20 hours. Now he's salaried, but that description says if it's something that's not considered in their normal activity, then we could pay extra. So would he be not allowed for us to compensate him for those extra hours because it is part of his normal job? I mean, this is where I'm having a hard time with this.
Yes.
I don't want to not try to compensate Kari for the extra work. They're shorthanded in there, so there's extra work. And I think she understood when she took the job that it is a salary job, and the 40-hour work week is kind of just a measuring stick, but it's not probably always going to work. There are going to be weeks where you're going to work more, and there might be weeks you work less. Right now, the less is probably not happening because there's a lot going on, and they do need a third person. So how do we, I've been agonizing over this for 2 weeks as to how to be fair to our salaried employees and not make one treat any of them any differently or whatever. And I haven't
and
come
you
up,
just
and I haven't come up with an answer.
You also just touched on the second part of this, which is again this employee versus elected official thing. And Kevin sent a second email about town clerk position specifically that I found very confusing.
Right.
It raised more questions for me than an answer. So
Because we are comparing, we're not comparing apples to apples. Dave's hired,
Right,
Carrie's elected.
right.
So would we be out of line to just do like a one-time
A bonus.
bonus,
That's what I was wondering.
a bonus for this fiscal year? And just, because we did that another year. We gave bonuses, when Don was chair and
Yeah,
to several different employees.
there's another possibility
Okay.
that Matt came up with.
well,
So-
I mean, the other thing we could, and I feel probably should do, which is, I don't think it completely responds to Carrie's concern perhaps, but it seems to me that if we're going to pay DCA members or ballot clerks or what have you to work in elections and come here after hours and vote, and to count the votes. But I don't think Carrie should have to work that time for free. I mean, it seems to me we should pay her the same rate for that. That after hours work, unless Carrie's, adjusting her hours because she has the authority to do that in order to make up for that time, which she could do. But
In the office.
I think what she has said is, yeah, she doesn't want to do that because people expect the office to be open. So she's going to work a regular time to keep the office open and work overtime to oversee the management of the election. Arguably, that could be covered with an hourly rate. Now, the flip side of that argument is, well, it's part of the town clerk's job, and that's just what it is. But
Normal year when you have a couple elections, it's
right.
easily absorbed. When you have this year, when you got like 6 elections,
No, well,
that we didn't
that's
plan on.
calendar year.
calendar, yeah.
So if
Yeah.
it's
I understand.
3 in the fiscal year and 3 the coming fiscal year, if you
Right.
count it that way.
Yeah.
And we don't differentiate when we set salaries for the
No.
town clerk. We don't say, oh, this year you've only got 1 election. So, I think we could, and there is money, and it does recognize, the question is, do we do it? The problem is retroactively this fiscal year, or do we say we're going to pay you in the coming fiscal year for the August election, the extra time you put in, and the November election, and the extra time you put in, and in the March election, and we'll use the ballot clerk line because we have not budgeted. And remember, we have already budgeted and the townspeople have approved our budgets for Carrie's salary and all of the benefits. And that's, her.
2 years. Finish this year and
that's
all the
right.
next year.
Right. So there is money, and it does recognize if we pay her out of the ballot clerk line that, there is extra work associated with elections. So.
Is there money on that line specifically? So a separate
It'll probably end up being short.
It probably will.
But if you keep it consistent and it's in that line, then other line items.
There's 2 lines. So for ballot clerks for the coming fiscal year, 3 elections,
Yeah.
we've budgeted $4,500. And for Board of Civil Authority generally, we've budgeted $6,500. Now, some of the BCA work would be
Taxes.
reappraisals, but we
Reappraisal.
haven't had any. So between the 2 lines, we've got
Have
$11,000.
we been spending anywhere close to that in the BCA?
BCA, Board of Civil Authority, well, we went over that. Oh, you know what? We went over it in 22, 23. No, we didn't go over it. We came $6,200 out of the 65. And I think that's because of the special election on the fire police facility. I'm guessing that.
So Carrie, is all the extra work because of the elections, or is there also extra work because Susan's not there as often? You don't have an extra helper, and we've also thrusted a bunch of wildfires onto
I'm
you, like tracking down this capital improvement mess and other stuff.
Kurt, thank you very
We lost your
Oh,
audio.
you cut out.
You cut out, Carrie. We didn't get that.
Yeah, and your box isn't lit up, so you're,
Where'd you go?
yeah.
Can you hear me?
There you are.
No, we,
Okay,
we
you're back.
missed your response to Kurt's question.
Oh, sorry about that. Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Yes.
So what I said was to Kurt, thank you very much for bringing that fact up. It's not just election stuff. It is exactly what you said. It's the limited amount of help this year and the extra stuff. I want to say worldwide. It's not townwide. That's coming down on my shoulders. So it's everything.
But let me do the other little thing here that what I said to Marcia was, we respect the independence of Kari's office as we respect the independence of the Lister's office. And Kari manages her office as she sees fit with the budget that she came to us and, we worked on with her. She did cut back on Susan's hours, or Susan wanted to cut back and she agreed. And I know Kari has been trying to hire for that other position, which we authorized and the voters authorized her to have. And I think it's critical that she gets somebody in there, even if it may not be a perfect person, but get somebody in there to help with some of this stuff that she and Susan could hand off while they work on, some of the other things. So I do want to reflect the fact that the select board has given Kari the tools and including funding the COT system, which should have cut down on the time the land records were in there. With that said, Matt's proposal, the bonus proposal, I could live with either of those.
So
overtime, I have a really, really hard time with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that we want to stay away from that term. I think that some compensation based on either of those two scenarios, a one-time bonus thing, and that allows us, if we're so moved, to do that for somebody else or other employees that have put in extra time during the course of the year for unusual events or whatever that their salary. I don't know how we want to deal with that, but I've tried to look at us being fair to all our employees and treat them all the same. And I think we'd make a very big effort, whether they're hired or elected, to pay them a proper wage and a proper compensation for their times. And, we went through all that effort.
If I can, on your
Well,
desk.
I just think,
Yeah.
why can't we just give her a bonus?
Okay.
She has been overworked. Take a look at her.
Yeah.
She looks like she's been through the mill. If you guys don't want to do it, that's fine.
I don't
But
think-
I agree with her.
Sharon,
She deserves something.
Nobody has said that we don't want to. It's how to do it in a fair manner so you don't tick off anybody else that's employed by this town. We don't step on any other toes and we don't violate any particular laws or rules or whatever. So we have a couple of tools. I think realistically, I think the bonus way to go in is just to figure out an amount. That way it's at our discretion. And if we choose to do this, we can, we did it. I think it was either last year or the year before, just under the clear blue sky.
Yeah.
We just did it and we did it for Dumas. So,
And I think Kari was one of the ones who benefited from that as
yes,
well.
I think maybe Bill did. And I think that, I don't remember who else. And so, I think it was during this COVID year when we were going through a lot of stuff and there was a lot of extra work that was being done so that we could all be in touch and get things done. So,
One other thing I put on your desk, there's a 3-pager municipal compensation benefits report. It's actually a very, very thick binder, but I pulled out other towns and including Rutland town and clerk treasurer positions and how much they're paid. And at the bottom of the last page, it shows the average pay and the median pay, and Kari's above both.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're not being unfair to her generally. We're working at that fair payment for all of our employees.
And I think we go out of our way to try to do that before we
Yes.
set salaries.
Yeah.
You run into a unique year. So did you have a number in your little mind?
I think it's gonna require an executive session to figure all that out. I think we're gonna have to look at budget sheets so we know where we're at with the budget, and
That's usually fair.
All right, is that a motion to go into executive session?
Yeah.
Motion's made. Is there a second?
We're gonna do it now or at the end? Do it at the end.
I mean, we can do it at the end.
Okay.
Move for it at the end.
Move for at the end.
So we can get through the rest of our
Yes,
people.
Yes,
Yeah.
let's do that. Okay. That's what we'll, and that's suspended. We're all in favor of the executive session at the end of the meeting. Please say aye.
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 There we go.
Okay, motion carries, and that's what we'll do. All right, also, the Cortina Inn Settlement Fund balance. Looks like we've, oh, yeah, Kari, do you have?
That's what I was questioning. I thought we went over this last time. Didn't I give you a number of everything last time?
We did. There was nothing in writing. It was all pretty much verbal. Bill, the minutes don't reflect it. And I scribbled notes, but
So, and then I had raised I was asking about basically how do we report it and what impact, if any, does it have on carryover funds? And so I sent an inquiry to Andrew about this, and he responded this afternoon. And so Mary and Kari, you're copied on this. I don't know if you've seen it, but it's a somewhat lengthy response. And I'm not sure if it completely answered my question, but I think the gist of it is it's up to us to decide how much we apply. And the way it was done last year is I think it was mentioned in the audit report, but it wasn't, he said it is not represented separately in the audit report or general ledger other than the ending assigned balance once it is calculated. So what I think that means is that what you would see the police department just would have a deficit unexplained, and the funds would, whatever amount we decided we were applying, we apply, and then there's a balance. And then the other thing I asked about that he confirmed is that we need to vote before the end of the fiscal year to carry over with whatever the balance is as that, dedicated fund or whatever we call it.
We did that last year.
Right, because otherwise that gets lost, right?
Right. Bill, would you please put on next meeting's agenda, vote to segregate Cortina Fund. That's I don't know.
To carry
To
over
not carry
No, we want to carry it over into the
carry
next year
over
and not.
Cortina Fund is a separate fund and not sweep into the capital improvement
So
fund.
the issue that I think we still have to deal with then is how much do we apply in that? We know there are certain things that we specifically authorize. So purchase of a cruiser and equipment to go with it. We intended to use it specifically for the directed patrols. And then in Kari's calculation, she had basically made an allocation of the rest of the budget based on the amount of time that officers are spending on the southern end of town versus everything else.
12%, 17%, and something in the middle.
It's kind of the administrative costs and the benefits portion.
I think the easiest way to do this is to apply the deficit. so the budget's level funded.
That's kind of where my mind is going, because if you do more than that, I'm not sure what, I'm not sure it's necessary and the consequences are unclear. Whereas if we have whatever balance we retain, we continue to use to pay for overtime or hire an officer or do all those things that we want to do.
Not involve the Cortina money to cover the deficit in the police budget and cover it with the 1% money, which we're also authorized to do. Any excess 1% money has been used in the past to cover any overages in Ed's budget. And that way it preserves your Cortina money for that directed patrols, and it allows.
I mean, the directed patrol and the hiring of an officer would be my priorities.
Right, and we have allocated funds for both of those.
But it's essentially, it's the Cortina that's causing the deficit.
Right.
And we said, I think what we said for the next
operation, right?
For the next fiscal year, we anticipated using $150,000 from that fund. And I think the way that Kari, remind me if I'm wrong, but I think I wrote this down. I could look it up, but I think the balance was going to be something like 65,000.
That's what sticks in my mind.
And of course, they're continuing to pay us monthly, and it sounds like they'll be probably paying us all through the next fiscal year. So we may very well have $150,000 plus. But to me, to my mind, if we're looking to hire somebody, as soon as possible in the new fiscal year, the higher that balance is to cover it, the better.
Yeah, I think that's the easiest way, because the way that's set up in the budget line is the directed patrols are coming out. They're coming out of the overall budget anyway, and that's what's showing the deficit at the bottom. So if we pay the deficit out of the fund, then
we're paying the directed patrols and we're paying the overhead associated with.
Yeah. Because if we overpay into it, any excess from that budget is going to go to capital improvement.
We don't want that.
So there's no point. No point in doing that.
But to Joe's point, the same is true of 1% money if the excess isn't used.
We won't lose either way. We can either.
There's a difference.
There is a difference because the Cortina money is allocated for a specific.
Right. And if we have 1% money, we can use it for the public safety building or anything else for that matter.
So as long as the Cortina money goes to benefit the PD, that's what it's intended for. And that's probably its best use. Given that the amount we're getting per month should offset the amount that as people can work, we should never really be at a loss. We should be able to always come out ahead or even.
When we say level fund, again, I guess we have to talk about what that actually means. I think what we're saying is there was a budgeted expense amount. We exceeded that amount. It's the excess amount that
is what comes out of the Cortina.
We're going to take up the difference
out of the Cortina. I think it's better to do it.
The revenue on the revenue side of things, that some of that may still be funded by 1% money because it will be a carryover from the general fund. But
that's true.
We would be better anything to do with the police department to use that Cortina money.
That'll save, and that saves all the calculating and the weird accounting and
work for you, Ed? That sound like a proper
so
way.
Do you want to make that motion now or do numbers for the next meeting, or are we, I mean, we don't know the numbers, but we don't really need to with your proposal.
And it won't be until the end of all the bills come in, how much, if Ed's budget's over, then we'll just offset the difference with Cortina money.
So
we know it's over. It was over, 2 weeks ago. It was over significantly, and it's because of those specific items.
Yeah. So I'll make a motion that we
cover
the deficit of the police budget with Cortina funds.
Second.
Question's been made and seconded to cover any deficit of the police budget with Cortina funds.
I think that's the easiest way to do that, even from year to year.
Okay. Discussion.
I think we've discussed it pretty much.
I think so.
We have.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
all in favor of them, unless you had.
Oh, go ahead.
Okay. All in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Good.
So then I think, although we don't know what the final balance will be, it seems to me
it's
I
such
can
a,
make a motion now that whatever the balance of the Cortina fund is, that we carry it over as dedicated
And we'll take
funds
care of
for this purpose
Right.
of supporting the overages in the police department.
Right. And it's because that's a revolving amount. You have money coming in every month. You have money going out. Some months.
So, well, there's a motion, but it hasn't been
Second.
seconded. Okay,
So
motion's
that's
been
your second
seconded,
motion?
discussion.
I thought we were gonna do that next week.
Well,
Well,
doesn't
might as well do
matter.
it
if
now.
we're
We're
all
doing it
set
now.
to
We're
do
here
it.
in the business.
Okay.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded. You, roll over the Cortina money separately into its own fund
After paying the deficit.
After.
after the deficit. That was our first motion.
Yep.
Okay, discussion? Okay, all in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Right.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Oh, motion carries. Good. So I guess we don't need to do the Cortina. We just need to make sure it's very clear in the minutes what we just did, both of them.
The hard thing with that Cortina money is because it's a revolving amount. You've got money coming in, money
Yes.
going out. It's hard at any one given, say, tomorrow for Kari to go in and say, okay, this is what the balance is. Because there's stuff outstanding, there's something coming and
You gotta wait,
Well,
wait until
this
Monday
discussion
the first.
leads us perfectly to action item G, board to discuss how to flag capital improvements expenditures.
sticky note on the door. I like that. That was his
Right there.
We just spent this amount of money.
Yeah.
And I can remember making motions and I know we voted on the monies we put into the public safety building. Whether Bill will ever find it,
So
I know he's been working
what you have
tired.
on your desk is every single thing that is in the minutes
Mhm.
since you started the capital improvement fund.
Okay,
I could not find a vote in any meeting where you actually dedicated money to the public safety building. I went through, I searched terms and numbers and things, and then finally I went through every single set of minutes
So-
for every board meeting, and
So-
it was not there.
Why is there a number on here with,
Because
There's
there
town
was
meeting.
plenty of discussion
yes.
post, so these are all in descending date order.
Uh-huh.
There is discussion at meetings past that money was voted on, but it never actually, I could not find a meeting.
Town meeting minutes.
It was voted on by the people.
It was voted on by the people.
I'm wondering, is it a ballot item?
The ballot item did not specify an amount. It just said capital improvement funds. It did not specify an amount. I looked at that too.
Well,
I thought we did.
I
thought it was,
I thought we did too. So I eventually said, okay. So I went through every meeting and there was past that where that range, it was talked about that the money was set aside, but I could not find a meeting where there was an actual vote.
so do we know what the balance would be without that?
well, okay, there's one other thing we can,
this is a lot of work, Bill. Pretty good job.
yeah, it
It was a
is.
lot of work.
It
So
is.
This spreadsheet,
This is when I
is-
came in.
when you
16.
look at it on a computer, the minutes to the right are linked, so you can click on it and it brings up the meeting minutes that correspond to that vote.
Mhm.
And up at the top, I have where the very first discussion was on the capital improvement funds. So there are a couple things here that weren't specified, so there's some holes that need to be filled in, but that is everything that I could find that related to actual votes on capital improvement or the Cortina settlement.
You know what I find interesting, Mary?
What do you find interesting?
On 8/17/22, it looks like we authorized $4,000 for a portable restroom for the transfer station. And we never spent it.
Yeah, okay,
Well, you authorized the money for the concrete work here, and we never did it.
yeah.
So
And we never
does
got
does that live in perpetuity, or does that eventually? go
Actually,
away?
once we vote, it's spent.
So, wait a minute, so you're saying there's no minutes to correspond to the $350,000?
There's no minutes to correspond to a vote.
To a vote, but there was,
to that.
uh-huh,
There were discussions at meetings that you've set aside the money. I cannot find a meeting where there was an actual vote on that amount.
But that number was discussed, or where did it come
hey,
from?
wait a minute, we're still in the fiscal year. Right? We are.
So the,
So we can vote it.
Well, that was actually
Voted any time, but we just need to know what the balance is so we can make a decision.
That's right. Well,
so one of the things, so are all of these bills supposed to be from the, capital improvement
So
on
there's
the,
two columns there to the right. One's capital improvement, one's Cortina. So
Okay.
wherever the X lies is whatever fund it came from.
okay, all right. Oh, all right, I wasn't reading the top. I was just reading up and down.
So are these, okay, these are all things that were approved, but we've identified a couple that have not been.
Except for one. The very last one, the very first one at the top is not approved, but.
Well, okay.
Oh, yeah.
And but Joe's mentioned one or two that we've not actually spent the money, but have we actually spent the money for all the other ones or not?
I don't
The
know.
trucks we did, I know the highway trucks we did, because there's a couple of them up there.
And so the other part is now we got to figure out how much we actually spent on all this stuff.
Well, and how
Yes.
much we still have.
Well, if you look at, we've authorized $11,600 for two projects that were never done. So that means the money is authorized to be spent, but it still should be in the account because we didn't spend it because nobody did the work.
Yeah, and like
what
the
balance?
highway trucks weren't, they might have been 115,000.
I don't remember exactly what Dave paid for those two, so that's the
that
amount.
needs to be another line in this is
What
we
the
actually
actual amount,
paid.
right?
So Kari has access to this spreadsheet to update and
Yeah.
add in
okay,
those figures. if
did
she
you give
wants
it to her? Did you show it to her? Good, great.
It's,
Okay,
It's shared, so
great.
so that way she can click on the minutes and gets the copy of it. So
Okay,
that I gave that to her last week.
okay.
So yeah, that's the next part is to figure out the actual.
The actual and when it was, and if it was expended,
Then the
because it looks
power-
like there are at least a couple.
And the thing after that is to come up with a plan so that we can track it better.
Well, yeah, but
So
then we
this-
also need to probably do a vote to authorize what we had assumed all along, which is 350,000, and then we might need, well, yes. Okay, all of the above.
Yeah.
Do we remember what the actual wording of the ballot was last year
I don't
for the
have it.
special election?
I don't have it in my brain. I have a whole
I think
folder
we-
at home
I
with
think
all
we
of
need,
that
I think
information.
we need to look at that,
Okay,
because I almost think there's something in there regarding the capital improvement fund.
I think there was also the
I don't think there was a
spreadsheet.
number. I think we just said, we were
Yeah.
trying to say how much we were authorized to borrow. In order to come up with that number, we took these other things into consideration. And we said,
Right.
With the rest to be
figured
paid
we were
for
coming
out
up
of-
2.9 or 3 million, and we
Yep.
were gonna borrow about 2.5.
and we said, well, the rest will be paid for out of ARPA and capital improvement, but we didn't say specifically.
I know we talked
We have a
numbers.
way to calculate it because there was a max number to be spent, and then we had the ARPA funds. And
Right.
We had the,
and the
yeah,
bond
and I've got the
And there was some money
spreadsheet.
from the,
Joey and I
federal
worked
government.
on the actual, here's the breakdown of where the money's coming from. And we did two columns. One is the old number at the lower bid, the other was the higher number.
I have the
So,
ballot question.
Yep.
If you'd like to hear it.
okay,
Shall the town of Rutland replace the McKinley Avenue Fire Station with a public safety building to house the Rutland Town Fire and Police Departments at a cost not to exceed $5,502,000 and no cents, and to be paid for by Federal America Rescue Plan Act grant funds and interest thereon, the town's capital project reserve account, and by any additional grants obtained with a balance of up to $2,517,850 and no cents to be funded by the issuance of bonds.
That was the special one, right?
That was the special
Yeah.
one.
okay, that sounds right.
So do you know where the original ballot item is, would have been the year before, right?
we left that kind of open ended, I guess.
Because it was
It's in
4.
town report, you guys. It's warned in the town report if you have a town report in front of you, and I believe it's $771,000 and some change. but it
Which
was.
year?
So it would have been we would have voted on that in 23.
22 or
Or it would be-
23.
23. So
Okay.
that would be in the 22 one. I think. That would be year ending June 30th, 23. That's last year. It would be the 22 one, maybe. This is 23 here.
So, yeah, it's gotta go to the previous one, which I've got in
Yeah, I
front of
don't
me.
I think it's 22.
Thank you.
So March of 22, 771, 231 from capital improvements.
Yes. So there's an amount.
771.
Okay.
That number will not discussed in the meetings.
That is not 350,000.
No.
Because, no, that's right, because we added 2 years. We dipped into it twice. We took it at the end of 1 year because we knew what it was. And then the next year, another year had gone by because we were voting a year later, so we took that as well. Okay, so the voters authorized it.
The voters authorized the 771,022.
Well, they didn't, because I got voted down.
What? No.
That was a separate item.
That's the one that passed?
375 to 294.
This was for what now,
Go
Bill?
back for more money.
That's what it was.
Right.
Back for
But
more money.
We had but we had to reword it, but the
Yeah.
rewording didn't specify the 771, it just said to use that money.
Right.
But it was already approved in this one, so.
Yeah, so I guess we're
Okay,
good,
could you redo this with maybe that number in it? A couple of
But I
places? Thank
see,
you.
I thought we were talking.
Well, and then the other part of this is we gotta get all the incomes. You know, we gotta get all the deposits into this
Yes,
account,
that's right.
so we know.
That's
And,
right.
and the problem with that is, well, that's the surplus from every budget starting in 2016. Because I think this was voted on in 2015.
So, yeah, but
You,
what?
because you were.
First one, yes.
Yes,
I
no,
was
because I
on,
know how I followed this. You were elected to the
Right.
board in 2014.
and we found the
During that
surplus.
year, you found the stuff in the mattress. And so this plan was put in place, how to put that out there and make sure we didn't lose any. And we voted on it in 2015 and it took effect at the end of that, I believe, that fiscal year.
So what it
To set up
so-
the capital improvement
Improvement fund.
Yes.
So it would have started on July 1st, 2015. When the funds, because we would
Yeah,
have
so
voted,
did it take the surpluses from the 14-15 year?
yes. That's where, I think that's where you would
You'd
start.
have to look at where you set the tax rate. That would have.
Because I remember,
Yes.
because I remember the first couple of tax rates I helped with in 2016, where we were talking about offsetting the police budget with 1% money.
Yep.
And we were trying to figure out, and we were figuring 900,000 or $1 million, and then how to do that. We discussed that. And then lately, because at that time, the police budget was part of the general. They were together. And then we separated them. Police budget was never a standalone budget because it was in its infancy stage when we started.
Yes, you're right.
And so it was after that as the budget grew and the department grew, it became worthwhile to separate that and have it a standalone budget and let the voters vote on it. And then I don't
So
ever,
what do we need to do for the purpose of knowing what's in the capital improvements budget? We've identified now the voters charge that we put some money aside. Bill needs to go back and find the original, the close of the fiscal year. You said what, 2015?
I'm pretty sure the vote was in March of 2015 and it would be my guess we started that fiscal year's budget when it ended in June. Anything that was left would have been swept in.
Would be the first installment in that
Would be
capital. Okay.
somewhere in,
You would know when we set, when the tax rate was set for 16, because before that, any surpluses should have went to offset taxes the next year.
Yes.
no, they didn't.
The minutes give a little.
They just went to this fund and
It may not be,
That's why we ended up with
it doesn't have to be minutes. It's a financial number at the end of
Should be an audit
Sure.
reports.
it should be in the audit reports.
the audit report, so whatever, because
Kari's office.
prior to the capital improvement fund being established, all department fund balances went to reduce taxes for the next year. That's the way it was done, except for
Okay.
highway. Highway has always been allowed to. So with this change, every year, the budgets are funded new by taxes, and the excess goes into the capital improvement fund, which allows us to do jobs without borrowing money,
Right.
which in the long run actually saves the town money.
It does.
So in prior to 2015's vote, there was no mechanism to deal with any excess 1% money in.
Which is why the damn thing kept
growing. So
building and building.
if you look at some of those older budgets, it would say the general, and they're gonna put 200 or 300,000 from 1%, and then it would have generated 2 or 3 times that. So it went into this limbo account and nobody knew what to do with it. Until along came
Donna Zeller.
Yes, and she saw this,
Yeah.
and then the board during that 15 year came up with a very good plan, and they allocated these funds, cash to open. We built the highway garage. We paid off, I don't know, 12 years of the
It
bond.
was JP's motion, and I can see him sitting there
Right
making
there.
the motion.
Yep, and we paid off, all these years of the bond, and then we established that capital improvement fund to not get us into this situation again.
And that's where things went squirrely, is because the excess 1% monies from the end of one fiscal year should have offset taxes for the next fiscal year.
Yeah.
And they didn't.
Mostly did, but not entirely.
That's why there was excess monies, because those monies should have went to offsetting the tax rate the next
Prior
year.
to the capital improvement.
Prior.
Right, and
And
it wasn't, nobody knew what to do with it.
And technically, my personal opinion is it still should, and we should hold that at the end of the year and offset taxes the next year with it.
Well, we
But
have
that's a-
the voters' permission to do
Yeah.
capital improvements thing.
It's 6-1 because if we don't do that, and then we want to do a project, we got to go borrow.
Yeah.
So,
Well, you still have the capital improvement for your excesses from budget lines,
yeah, you could do that.
and then you're.
Yeah, I
but
see. It
We'll
wouldn't
see,
be
we'll see
funded,
where our
but-
tax rate goes. That's still something we can, when tax rates
So-
go through the roof, we can
So
hold that over.
we'll take another whack at this of knowing where we are and ask Bill if he would,
Well, we got him a big chunk there that we just met.
yes, big chunk. Phew.
But I
Okay.
still think last year, there was mention of more money beyond the 771,
Might,
but I don't know. I would have to
Well,
compare
let's
the.
find out what there is, and then we
Yeah.
can
okay,
decide.
so
What are you saying?
we're down to, we got a few more things to go through.
Yeah.
Um,
We're through everything.
so
on the
we're
blue.
through all of the things that Kari was
Yeah.
on for, other than the executive session at the end. Okay, next up, Mike Delehanty, first constable. Good evening, Mike.
Good evening. Couple things. Been kind of a busy week. Had a pretty good felony level retail theft at Home Depot that I'm working. There's actually a fraud that had come in tonight. Chief Dumas, I'll take it. I already assigned myself if he's there. But the big reason okay, tell him I've got it under control. So the big one is the property at 118 Route 7, Mr. Ruggerio's property. I'm sure you'll remember that we did a very temporary fix until the weather was good enough to pour a new wall or a new cinder block wall. I did talk to him earlier today because I'm trying to set up a site visit with him so that we're all on the same page about what that needs to look like to be satisfactory. He actually tried calling me a little while ago, but I texted him and said, I'll have to call you back because I didn't want to lose this call. So I will call him once I'm done here, and then I will report right back to you guys on what the outcome of this is to make sure that we have a timeline that's appropriate and a fix that's appropriate. To be honest, the temporary fix was not really to the standard it needed to be, but we'll make sure that the permanent fix definitely is.
Okay, so you're gonna drop off this call or text John and then come back on?
No, I'm gonna once I'm done here with you guys, I will reach out to him, and then I can either follow up with everybody on the board with an email, or we can wait till obviously 2 weeks. I want to make sure that we get a real adequate, appropriate timeline on this permanent fix because it's gone on too long. But I want to do a site visit with him to make sure that we're all on the same page on what needs to happen to make sure that this permanent fix is the right fix.
Okay.
So Mike, the
Yes, sir.
panel or panels missing in the overhead door facing Route 4.
Okay.
You might
Yeah,
want to press those.
Okay. Yeah. I've got a list. I'll make sure that it's on it. I've got a laundry list of things about that property that I'd like to see addressed. And that's why it's a lot easier if I meet with him on site so we can point it all out so that we don't miss anything.
Okay.
Okay. Mike, it occurs to me that we did something similar on Perkins Road. JP did the site visit. And I think we then had a hearing with the property owner, and we came up with findings and conclusions and an order from that. So you might check with JP and see if at some point we have to set a hearing and go through all of the information you're bringing in.
Okay. I'll talk to John Paul about that.
Good. Thank you.
Okay. And besides that, that's all I got.
That's quite a bit. So thank you very much.
You got it. We'll talk soon.
Any questions of our first constable?
Oh, good.
Okay. Thank you, Mike.
All right. Have a good night.
You too. Ed Dumas, Town Police Chief.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Yep. JP's been out. So for the last month calls for service, we had 148, excuse me, and 65 traffic stops. Thanks to,
Is it 148 plus 65?
correct.
Okay.
That's why the packet's so thick.
That's why
Yes.
the package. Very, very busy on
Mhm.
Post Road and Grove Street.
Good. Did the paving of Post Road create?
Public speaking.
Yeah.
It was mentioned to me today, someone, I think,
Yeah.
yeah, it mentioned to me that it may, because it's new and black and smooth, that. it
Yeah,
may
shiny.
Faster.
The word I have is like 7 in the morning and or
Okay.
4:30 at night. Yeah.
Well,
What is,
maybe we'll get some input from the second constable when it's his turn.
Okay.
He might have some interesting statistics for you.
Okay.
my curiosity is piqued on the first page about the call type public speaking.
Speaking.
Oh, did you go to the school or something?
It probably wasn't me, it was.
Just Post
probably-
Road.
It's probably the school. It wasn't
ranting and
me.
raving
What does
out
that
there.
mean? Somebody ranted in the office or?
No, a lot of times if, I know they've, asked Ted to go to talk to the 8th grade class about,
Oh, this is like a citizen complaint. Like, oh, this guy over here is talking in public.
if we have
Oh, gotcha now.
or something.
Yeah, gotta go squash that real quick.
Yeah, that's what those.
Well, that's a lot less interesting than I hoped it would be.
We did have an incident a couple incidents with the fire department. We had a truck blow a hose on West Proctor Road and go down Route 4 towards West Rutland, business Route 4. And of course, the fire department was there to help out, and Dave Sears and the town truck was spreading sand like crazy, and they got the state involved, and we were able to figure out whose truck it was, and I still have to email somebody from the environmental department of the state who probably wants information.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, thank the fire department for that one.
Mhm.
Also, we did get a request, I remember last week, last time we met, to drop our speed card off at the racks around here in Christian School. Apparently it's quite a they sent me an email with a link to watch some kid who can run 19 miles an hour. I'm thinking, take a good cop. And, they're looking to see if anybody could beat his record before he graduates.
Our speed car challenge pays off.
some of the townwide
So we
celebration.
got a 19 mile an hour runner right now.
Maybe we can make this an inter-school contest every year. So the fastest kid.
Are you gonna do the
That'll be a
speed
new
card
thing
up
at the
at?
townwide celebration.
We usually do set it up.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
championships.
Yeah, they've been doing that a little bit.
Great.
What else we have that's good? Probably police committee discussion about, there's a couple things. One is I know we authorized to spend money out of our depreciation fund for the new watch guard cameras we got, but we got another bill which is significantly more than last year. I think it has something to do with storage, but we got to look at our lease to see. We got to do some research on that to make sure that they're not overcharging us on this lease we had, but it may,
Okay.
the language may say the more we store, the more it's going to cost us.
Oh,
So there's some things that we can do as a department to get rid of some, like any tests, citizens assist, they can go away after a month or so, as long as it's not criminal related. Well, looking at that, but I'll talk to as far as it
So you need a
did
police
come out of
committee
the,
meeting.
out of our depreciation fund, but I guess going forward, I've been told that that's probably not possible each month, each lease, but I think we've done it with our tasers. Each year where we've taken out of the depreciation fund.
okay. Let's
So-
take a look at it. We'll do a police
Yeah.
committee meeting.
Do we
Yeah.
know what the fund balance is?
We can find out. I don't know right now.
Those are easier to manage, the depreciation funds, less out and pretty guaranteed in.
It's that, let me just continue on with this. Any questions on the, calls for service for the month? Oh, yeah, we did have a, fire department issue, involved in a, possible, meth lab at the Cortina. That it turned out to be nothing, thank goodness, but we had, the state, we had a meth lab with state police, we had hazardous waste. It was quite a show with big green trucks and several big red trucks and green cars and blue and black and white cars. So, but it turned out to be, it wasn't a meth lab, let's put it that way. It's probably drug related, but not
Not something else.
Yes.
This chart here with dollar signs on it, are these calls to these locations? Is that what that is?
This is the businesses in the south end and all the calls we get from.
Okay.
Okay.
So disregard the dollar signs.
So the last thing is, any other questions on the 148 calls for service?
Wow.
I touched on a couple of highlights of,
It's a lot. So there's one Diamond Run Mall call. That was only,
Is there any on the 30?
do you have an incident number, Mary, on that one?
oh, right, on the, yeah. It is, first page,
Okay.
24 RT 000904. Yeah, Matt
Cross
raises a good point. No, I don't see any calls to the Spartan Arena on
No, there's no.
May
No.
31st.
No.
Thank goodness.
Oh, really?
Friend of mine won some money though that night.
Really good. Excellent. I mean, I hadn't driven up around the Diamond Run Mall in a while, and I mean, the graffiti, the horrible condition of the pavement, the trees are mostly dead. I mean, the place is a mess.
A dump.
Yes.
It's what happens to vacant buildings.
Right.
Yes.
And no maintenance and no upkeep, and the longer it goes, the worse it's gonna get and the harder it's gonna be to recover.
Yep.
And they've cost us how many businesses, or at least one business that we know that wanted to be in Rutland Town and it's not here because they went to Active 50 and says it's gonna hurt our business.
Oh, I remember that.
Yeah.
I remember that.
That was Costco, wasn't it?
It was BJ's.
BJ's.
700 cars an hour supposed to come into that place.
Yeah.
We lost 90 jobs, I think it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was gonna be like one of the Northeast distribution hubs for them. It was gonna
Yep.
be quite the palace.
Yep.
Yep.
Maybe that will be included in our new Diamond Run Mall infrastructure.
And we should know something by August, right?
Right, August. We're
Which
gonna invite them
August,
back
though?
in on August.
Which
Yeah,
year?
right,
I've heard
what year?
August for
Which
5
August?
years.
Jeez.
I mean, we give some of the local people a hard time about how their buildings look. I know they're off the beaten path, but you just gotta go past that dump to go to the Spartan Arena.
Yeah, you do. Yeah. Well, we had him in here. We'll get him in here again.
I still think we need to, it's time, let JP, just like we
Go,
did,
go after him. Hey,
just like we did with the guy on Perkins Road, and we are after,
We did.
size doesn't matter,
I'm
and who you are
fine with
doesn't
that.
matter. And I think if you start doing something, put a little pressure on them, maybe they'll wind up and do something, or not, or level the place.
One of these August days,
Well, yeah, well,
whatever year that
You know,
happens to be.
we can't pick and choose who we go after for the condition of their buildings or what they look like in the town.
So is that a motion?
Well, we'll see when we talk to him.
Yeah.
I want to get
Okay.
his input before I give him a
Okay.
job.
Okay.
And the last one is our monthly report from South End.
Mm,
We had a total of 148 cases. 65 were car stops. We took that into consideration. So 117 calls from the South End, which is 79% of our time. It's probably the second highest month we've had since we started keeping track in 2019, back when we had 9 calls. Now we're up to 117.
9.
So
I
even though
can't-
there looks like fewer case numbers, the time that you put in down there is significantly more.
Correct.
Okay.
Average for the year is 74%. Any more discussion on this here? Thank Lynn for keeping track of these things. She's
Yes.
right on it.
Thank you, Lynn. And are these still going to our town attorney on some kind of regular basis?
I can find out.
Yeah, and please just shoot him up so
Okay.
who knows when this is gonna, or how it's going to blow up again, or,
We have them.
oh yeah, oh yeah.
I think the last thing I had to talk about is, okay, looks like the VPA Vermont Police Academy will have a dog trainer, someone to train the dogs and their handlers in July. So that means, Officer Placus and Canine Rooster will be in training for 12 weeks to make him a patrol dog. That being said, I have one officer who is injured somewhat, can't wear a vest, takes him off the road. That leaves myself and Teddy from July for 12 weeks that we have to handle all the calls in the city, or in the town, excuse me. So I know how close are you done to getting that policy taken care of? That's where we're at.
Mhm.
So
Okay.
just so you know. And then
And we've got discussions of similar things on the police committee.
and I do have one other thing I'd like to take up with the police committee in reference
Okay.
to
All right.
something might come up.
Well,
Good.
I'll do it again. I move that we hire another police officer for the police department.
I second that.
Fine. I mean, we've done it before, so
They can sign the new policy when the new policy's ready.
It's a little more to it than that. I'm sure you realize, but
We have
motion's
funded
been
that
made and
position.
seconded. We
We
have
have
funded
funded
it,
that
so
position.
it's consistent.
I can wait. It's okay. So I just want
You
to
don't
tell
need
you,
to
I'm
wait.
kind of under the gun here because July 1st is coming.
Yeah.
And I think pretty soon, and then it's going to be.
You also have your constables, but there's also another thing, if you let the police committee work.
Right.
There's something else as well.
Right. But I. will
But
pick up the-
if you want to make the motion, we've already authorized it in the budget, so it's,
Yeah.
any discussion about hiring another officer?
Mostly because if we say now, yeah, hire somebody, they're not starting tomorrow.
No, you're right.
Might have them
Right,
in 3
so,
months.
I mean, but your motion is just general, right? It's not about
Any particular one. Yeah.
specific decision.
Hire another.
To hire the candidate that he has.
No, well, let's go with hire an officer.
Yep.
Okay.
It's fine.
Discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay, motion carries. All right.
So tell me what that means.
That means, continue your search for the people.
Okay.
And I think because remember, we also talked about a couple of other things we could do.
Yeah.
And we're waiting for
Ed could hire his officer.
CFAC, for example, but we're waiting for an executive director to come in there, so we know that. And there's another opportunity that Ed wants to talk to the police committee about.
Well,
So let us do the
you guys
police
have-
committee's work.
The way I'm looking at it is the last employees we've hired for the highway department, Dave is hired because we told him to hire somebody. So Ed, you're up to hire somebody. And you can use your discretion as the police chief to hire who you want to hire.
There is a process. I hope you appreciate that. And we haven't stepped in and told the highway committee how to run their show. So please
The highway
respect,
committee never had an input on the hire.
respect,
Dave showed up with his new employee and sat right there and said, "This is our new highway employee."
please respect that there are a few more moving parts. Okay.
We need to get this ball rolling.
And we have it rolling in about 3 different directions. Okay. Which some of. Okay.
That's all I had. Thank you.
Okay,
all
thank
for
you.
All you've done for the police department. I really appreciate it very much.
You're welcome. Okay. Next is John Paul Faignant.
You wait.
Hi, good evening.
Hi.
Yes. I figured we put
can
him
I
to sleep.
nominate Deputy Chief? Can I nominate Deputy Chief Washburn to compete in that 18-mile-an-hour foot race? Be our representative.
I was thinking more like you, JP. I'd pay to watch that.
So with or without gear, full gear.
Hey, firefighters have to do it with gear and an airbag.
So it's been a couple of interesting weeks as your health officer. We had a increase in dog bites. One was particularly challenging. I had to buy a crate for a dog and alert Paul Williams, our pound keeper, that he may have a guest. A young person was bit over at Dewey Field, and the owner of the dog took off. And the only thing that was obtained was a temporary plate, but we were able to identify the driver of the car and eventually get to the dog owner. But it wasn't before they had to start the rabies protocol for the young boy, which, if you are aware, is just a painful process for anybody to have to go through, which is why the first thing we do when we get a dog bite reported to us is we verify the vaccination status of the dog. And sometimes our transient residents aren't the best dog keepers, but in this case, I was totally impressed with the up-to-date record for the dog, and we were able to stop the rabies protocol after the first shot. So that worked out pretty good. Things are perking along pretty good with the public safety building. I'm switching gears here now. Nothing really to report. We're according to schedule, and things are going as planned. I took a ride down to the Cortina Inn today. I'm starting to evaluate their compliance with their agreement with you as you had requested. One of the tests that I use, because there's universal agreement that if the back doors to the facility were alarmed, then police incidents, police calls, drug calls would get reduced significantly because people are not going to want to walk in and out the front door in front of the front desk. And I have, since I've been involved with the Cortina Inn, there's been an outstanding order that was included in the agreement with the original owners that the new owners agreed to abide by, that those back doors be alarmed. Now, in my inspection today, out of the 4 doors, 1 was propped open, the other 3 were closed, but they did not have an alarm bar. So I spoke to a representative down there by the name of Sean Breyer. Very nice gentleman, very engaging, but he didn't have any real good news for me as to when they are going to alarm those doors. And to me, that's the canary in the coal mine test for the good faith of them going forward. Because if they really want to help the town in reducing the calls and helping the governance of the population down there, they would alarm those back doors, and that'll stop the drug trade or have a significant decrease in the drug trade because of it.
What are our
So
options?
that's all
at
I
this
have
point?
for you.
We've told them, we've been patient. What do we do?
I mean, I don't have any jurisdiction over there. As you know, the state took that away from the health officers. I have reported
we
the
do under
situation.
Did he call?
We do under a contract. So if you could get your report on what you found there, get it to Kevin Brown or get it to Bill to get to Kevin Brown. And
Okay.
we can start that route because it's a contractual agreement. They were going to do those things. And frankly, I think we'll share it with the state
Yes.
so they'll know.
You know, it really is such a
I just don't know which August.
That's the other one.
It's
no,
such an easy
so-
fix, and they won't do it.
No, August.
So JP, you had, given us a ordinance that, would empower you to do the things you need to do. Where are we with that?
We sent that up to Kevin.
Okay, so he needs to step on the gas.
Okay.
Cause once we, get that ordinance in place, now that will authorize you and empower you to do the stuff you need to do down there. And I don't know if we could, but I'd like you to be able to go down there and put a padlock on the door and tell them they all gotta go. But that isn't probably gonna happen.
Would this alarm issue be covered under that ordinance?
Probably not.
Because it doesn't really sound like a health issue per se.
It's a
Well-
contractual issue.
It's a contractual issue, but it's also a condition of the health officer that these doors be in place, alarmed, to reduce the drug trafficking that's going on in the building and the free-for-all of people going in and out. So it could be considered a health issue, considering overdoses.
I have
Go ahead.
articulated what I think is a sufficient basis for a public health hazard, and that is the drug dealing that goes on in those doors, which, as we know, there's young children down at that facility. That it's just a mess to have drug dealing going on in that environment. It has to be considered a health hazard.
Okay.
What was his name from the state that left his business card? I wanted JP to call him.
Oh, yes. Did you remember?
Was that his name? No, yeah, right there.
Was he the local?
Law's deputy secretary.
The deputy secretary.
Yes, yes, the deputy secretary wanted to talk to you, JP, about your troubles with the state of Vermont and not being allowed to do the enforcement stuff because they said you weren't allowed to. And that's why we're having this issue with the ordinance that we're gonna pass in town that will give you that ability.
Yeah.
But he wanted to hear your side of that.
Yeah, and I think he was almost. I don't think he quite understood that the state took his powers away.
Yeah, he couldn't believe it.
So I think you need to talk with him, JP, and figure out what's
I did get a
going
call.
on.
I did get
The
a call
health
too from
department
one
is
of you.
now under Agency of Human Services, right? I think he's in charge of the health department too.
Yeah. What was his title, Bill?
Deputy Commissioner.
Secretary for the Agency of Human Services.
Yeah. get that information to JP and let him talk with.
I've got the guy's card, so.
Awesome.
No
Yeah,
problem.
ship his
Okay.
card off to him.
No problem.
Sorry, JP, you started to say something and I cut you off.
Oh, no worries. It's gone. It might come back.
Did you hear Joe's, his possible direction concerning you taking a look at, the Diamond Run Mall? And so similar to what you did for Perkins Road and similar to what our, constable is doing for, Gleason Road.
So I have taken a ride around the Diamond Run Mall, and the 2 times that I did it in the past pay period, I saw no open areas. All the entries seemed secured, and I didn't see anything that I could identify as creating a health hazard.
Okay.
Now, I don't know what the condition of the building is inside, but as long as they prevent occupancy of the building, that's not an issue.
What about the blighted property? Is that what-
Yeah, I was just thinking, the chief mentioned the blighted property ordinance.
But the blighted property ordinance requires the property to be blighted in comparison to surrounding properties, and the mall is isolated.
He's got the arena back there. That's
Yeah, the
Oh, no,
arena's
but
back
Spartan
there.
Arena and the college, and the gym in there and
Yeah.
that, so maybe not.
It's right. That's a good point.
That's the chief. Yeah.
So maybe you just look down that road, JP, and see if you can find something. We can put a little leverage on these people and get something going.
Well, the graffiti runs right up to Spartan.
I want to be very
Spartan
careful how we do that, though.
Yeah.
Because they got a very large bill to tear that down, and I don't want the town to own that. So I want to be very careful how we leverage them,
So we don't suddenly lose tax base.
No.
so they don't walk away from it.
And then that's us. Then it's
So we
ours.
own the Diamond Run Mall.
From what I understand, we don't want to own the.
Yeah,
Probably not.
I want to be very careful how we go about that. Is the only.
And the sinkhole up there, I guess, is getting worse and worse.
Well, I
Maybe
didn't,
it'll open up big enough and the whole place will just get swallowed up. and
I was
it'll be gone.
hoping.
One can only
As
hope.
long as it takes Cortina
gotta
with
tell
it.
Yeah, it's probably where it'll come out. Anyway,
all right.
Man, some
Anything-
things we probably shouldn't say on camera.
Yep.
Anything else for our health officer, clerk of the works of our public
I have
safety
one.
building?
Thank you for him.
Um,
So JP, I want to thank you for the explanation as to why Green Mountain Power installed a new power pole on the west side of the property. I guess I understand the technical and structural need for that other pole now.
Right. I was glad that they had such a basic explanation that I was able to understand it.
Yeah, but they put a pole on the west side. The power for the building is going in on the east side. So I'm wondering, why do we pay for an extra pole, all this extra 3-phase to go across there? And the explanation is they couldn't anchor the last pole because it would have been anchored in the parking lot. So they ran the extra 3 lines and they extended it that one more than that pole is anchored, so it keeps everything.
okay.
So it's at least a feasible explanation. I'm not sure I like it, but that's why probably. But anyway, thanks for doing that.
Yep.
Okay, if there's nothing else for JP, thank you very much. Appreciate your help.
Thank you. Have a good night.
You too. Barbara Pulling.
Was here but left.
Oh, okay.
She's had enough. Oops.
Yeah, well, okay. Mike Rowe, Town Rec Director.
That's right. That's right.
Let's see. The pool has always been slated to be open this coming weekend, and we're on track for that. Though we had obviously a lot of people driving down the parking lot this past weekend. We actually had one lady, we're still doing work, and one lady actually came in and took her shoes off and was starting to walk down the ladder to go in. And I was painting a line on around the perimeter for a no diving. And my other guy that was working was taking the vacuum and cleaning the vacuum. There's nobody else. And I'm like, hey, she's like, oh, aren't you open? Yeah, but there's nobody here, and no, we're not. Oh, I thought you were up. No, we're open next week, and I apologize for that. We're still cleaning and getting ready. So we had a couple of those and some interesting phone calls from people. But the information is listed on the website when we're opening if they just look at it, which someone said earlier about reading signs. People don't read signs. Speaking of that, we had a quick meeting with some pickleball people. So before we had talked about not scheduling pickleball court time, and we're not, but we are going to put in a scheduling. It's a scheduler so that they can see who's where and what have you. And our signs will go to the printer next week. That will be actually on site stating our pickleball rules, and that, you know, if you're there and somebody shows up, you play your game, let them play nice in the sandbox kind of deal. And that just because you sign up to this schedule doesn't mean that you have the court reserved. We're not doing that. We're just making it more so people can get together and know where they're playing. So that's being taken care of. The park is doing well. This weather is great. It slowed down the mowing a little bit, but then again, when it rains for the next 10 days, it'll be quite interesting after that. Our parties are happening starting tomorrow. The kids will be in the pool for the end of the year studies program at the middle school. So we'll have kids in the pool starting tomorrow, basically for the rest of the season. So that'll be fun. There'll be my litmus test on how warm or cold the water is. We did paint the outside of the building. I think it looks fantastic now compared to the tan color that it used to be. For whatever reason, it was tan. It is what we call Rutland Town Pool Blue.
Oh.
And it's pretty odd. It's about as blue as the flag. And the outside of the building really sticks out, and we've done some stuff there. So we're all good to go there. Baseball's wrapping up next week. And then we have some summer softball. Other than that, we're kind of plugging along. And there was one thing I talked to you about. No, not that. The other thing. What was it?
Well, sprayers on the list.
What?
Sprayers on the list.
Oh
here.
yeah, that's on the list. If however you want to go about that.
Because we talked about scheduling a meeting, but
That's right. That's what it was. We're trying to schedule a rec committee meeting to tidy up some loose ends from other parts, and then I think that's kind of where we stand right now.
You still have will you have money left over in your budget after next week?
After I'll know next week, definitely when I look at, once Kari does it and I get the final spreadsheet, I'll know what my basic end numbers will be for the last payment. But yes, I do expect to have money left over. Not a lot as usual.
Do you expect to have the amount of that sprayer left over?
Probably.
So
Should
we
vote on it
discussed
next
this,
week?
so to avoid making another deduction from the capital improvement fund to do this, I'm gonna make a motion. We authorize Mike to buy the sprayer that he proposed to us. I don't remember the dollar amount, but I think it was
This came into like
3,200 from this year's budget. And rather than just go through the other thing, that way it'll be a much cleaner, easier to track
Out of
expenditure.
his budget. Okay.
Take it out of this budget.
And Sharon seconded. Discussion.
Have we heard back from the league?
Oh, about rules.
Got a lengthy.
Yeah, I did. I sent it to Mike. They had some questions. It wasn't anything outrageous, but they had some questions and wanted to see proof and what Chris is like certifications and whatnot. So
Able to do all of that, I think we should be okay.
We could at least use it for irrigation.
I went through it, but it got legal, and
Yeah.
then I got sidetracked. I think we can work through it.
Yeah.
Regardless, I can use it for other things as well.
I'll run it from
So is there a not? Do we need a not to exceed number on that for?
What's
Yeah,
that?
what was shipping?
it was 3,200. like 200, I think, because it's freight.
So not to exceed 4.
Yeah.
And then it covers if the freight is.
You think you'll have 4?
I know, I will not get paid if that makes sense, so that I have $4,000 left.
Okay, motion's been made to authorize Mike to purchase the sprayer out of his budget. And at a cost not to exceed $4,000. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. There you go.
I'm just trying to think if there was anything else. I was sitting there and dozing off.
I know.
Sorry, I'm getting older. No disrespect. We're all set with I scanned and then went you. I apologize. I did scan over in Joe's area first, and my eyes tracked quickly past Mary, and then they landed there because my lazy eye just ended there. So I do apologize for that. There was no disrespect.
I think he's full of, you know what?
I thought I saved myself pretty good there, though.
Not too good.
We did get the new AD that is in the building. That is all set.
Oh,
And
Good.
we're all up and running for that, and then it will stay in the highway for the time when we're not in operation.
Okay,
And then
good.
I think we're all good. Unless you have anything else for me.
Anything else for our rec director, Mike Rowe?
And I do want to say thank you to JP for the dog bite, because that was
Yeah.
during a baseball game.
Yeah.
And his quick response and all that. I
And
might have done it
I
before,
want to
but
thank Sharon for keeping me totally in the loop on that. So
Yeah.
that was really good to know.
yeah, that was really well done by everybody, and the boy is doing well. So
Good.
unfortunate incident.
It was
but
only
yeah.
5 years old.
Yeah, and it took quite a chunk. Well, no, puncture, not chunk.
Yeah.
The only other thing I want to bring up, and I'll talk about it in committee too, is at some point we have to remove the lights at Dewey
Oh, boy.
at some point, or they're going to fall on someone. I don't know. I mean, I don't want to cut the pole and then deal with glass pickup. I can call out to Green Mountain Power, and maybe they can come in and at least.
Have adamantly declined any.
There we go.
Really?
So,
Just to take them down?
well, if we can just get the light parts off, then we can chop the
There's
pole
a
down.
Local tree.
I'm trying to think, Mike.
It's a
Because
big.
we
It's,
had
it's
it- we
normal.
had
It's
two-
not normal bucket. It's
We
like
had 2 at the mission, and I can't remember. It was one of, I think it was the Ma Bell boys went down with their bucket truck.
Yeah, it's way beyond the reach of a bucket.
I don't know if
These
what you
are,
would call it.
Call Tom at trees.
ours went to the 3rd floor of
Either
the
McCullough
building.
Brothers or even LaFaso's, they were getting a bigger
one.
Bigger one.
But I would talk
Brad.
either Brad or call trees.
At least Brad's an electrician. So he can take
If I can get
There
the
you are.
lights down, I mean, I can have the electrician come and shut the power off. But I'm just in fear that they're
GMP won't do that for their
gonna
community thing.
You know, it's funny.
They were using their
But you
crane
know who
truck
put
to send a
those-
monument downtown last week. Like they can't come take some lights
You
down
know,
for
you know
us.
who put those lights up? Jeff?
You did.
CD did. I think my cousin had something to do with that. And I think they originally went over and put the lights up for the town.
I think they were a
Years and
little
years-
more user friendly back in the day.
You know, it was a lot different back.
CV was older.
But you could call Tom at trees.
Yeah.
Okay, so I will call a couple different people. I'll get in touch with
They
Bill.
have, you know, if Brad doesn't have, you know, like if you want an electrician, you may be able to work with trees and because I'm pretty sure they've got one really big bucket truck.
I think they do. I just need the electrician to shut off the power in the building and disconnect them. Then we can cut through whatever they need to cut through.
Right. Yeah. I mean, and
Just so
then
they
it's,
don't- yeah.
it's a little bit of work taking the crossbars and they're going to have to run them down with something, but.
Right, because
And then as far as the poles go.
we can just cut them down like you're cutting down a tree.
Yeah, but then you're still gonna have them, you don't want them to be better, you know, it'd be better to pull them out, but you can do it either way.
Anyway, I just wanted to put that on your radar because that.
But those are a couple of places I check with.
Okay, I will take care of that. Otherwise,
Okay.
thank you.
Thank you very much.
I'm down in the swim.
Yeah. All right, Bill
Not
Sweet.
me.
You're welcome. We have
Town
stairs.
I have
administrator.
this for you, Bester.
Language for that.
Yes.
Okay.
It's the same.
It is a shall.
It's the same statute that, remember when we had the board vacancy and Kevin said this as like forthwith, which means you have, like, it's the exact, it's
The same language. Okay, this is
that
for the
statute.
lister position. Okay.
It
So we're
does.
obligated to fill
Yes.
the position.
We gotta
Because
fill and
it's a-
then we put it on the ballot in
It's a board
August.
obligation.
And I believe it's because it's an elected official.
Yeah, it's a board, it's a select board duty.
Geez, we got rules. We got duties.
The only thing left on the agenda is to check with department heads to confirm townwide celebration attendance. We want to
They're
move that
all
to-
gone.
They're all gone.
We wanna move
So
that to
I
next-
did that well, don't you
We
think?
want to move that to the next meeting again?
Yeah, maybe put them towards the top.
Sharon, is there anything we can do to help on townwide celebration?
No, all of the meat is ordered. We're not gonna have the Mark Foley cart. He's no longer doing it.
They responded to my message asking if they can come, saying we've retired, and then promptly posted on Facebook, we've retired. I'm like, so we've already come up with an alternative plan.
Okay, great.
The flyers are done.
Wonderful.
They're ordered. Yeah.
We copied the one you did last year. We just changed the,
I think Bill did it last year.
Yeah.
I ordered all of the meat. And he said he thought that we got the peppers and onions. They come in frozen bags.
They do.
Yep.
And he thought it was 2 huge bags.
No, but it was several smaller bags.
Okay.
Peppers and onions?
Yeah.
It's going to be, I thought it was, he said a few things have gone up, but more things have gone down in price. He was really good. Last year, he donated the ketchup and the mustard. I think he's going to do the same thing. Mike is taking care of the soda, the ice cream. He's going to order from the company he gets, like ice cream sandwiches and stuff.
Good.
So that we at least have that, because we don't have the other option. They ordered the same amount from last year. The only thing they didn't have written down was the veggie burgers. He couldn't figure out how many, so I said, I don't think a ton of people eat veggie burgers, but as long as we have them.
A package is fine. We had more than one package, but one package
Right.
is fine. Yeah.
So, Procter Gas has 4 small tanks.
Yay.
Have you heard anything more on the book bike? I know they're going to be here, but I don't know.
They'll be here. It probably won't be Randall. I did ask when I was in the library the other day who it might be. I know they're aware of it.
Okay.
And I think Dave has to get the highway guys to transport it both
Okay.
ways.
If they had a person, we had to move it.
And the person that I've been in contact with is Brian Kamuda, and he has been super.
He's wonderful.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
really has. Mike is going to pick the stuff up. It was going to be on Friday, but the school is making them go to some kind of a whatever.
In service.
So, well, it is an in-service, but so he's going to pick it up Thursday. He's going to call Brian so that it's ready on Thursday. So, I mean, everything is pretty much in order there.
Excellent.
Not much. And Bill has gotten hold of all the different people that usually come. I don't think we got a negative.
I've gotten no declines except for the ice cream. We got a couple that are still waiting to confirm, but
So did they sell the cart? I mean, I could
I don't
beg
know.
Mark.
I don't know.
It's a good friend.
It was
Please.
it's probably still in his little red barn there.
It's probably sitting over there, yeah.
No,
What was the date on this again?
August 24th. Yep.
Make sure I get that on here.
So
Sounds good. Thank you.
it's
Okay.
better to get it out of the way than
Yep.
sit
Yes.
and wait.
Made good progress. You have the letters on your desk, Mary, for the scholarship awards for Rutland High School.
Oh, yeah, I put them
They're in
in my,
envelopes, okay? The
Yes.
other two, I sent letters to them, inviting them to the next board meeting. so we could present the words to them
Yeah,
here.
that's-
I've
thank
not,
you, Bill.
I've not heard from them yet, but I've sent the letters inviting them.
Okay.
So that's out there. Did you like the color coded agenda? Did that help once you
Yes.
sussed out my?
When you print it off, because I had my packet over here, so I
Yep.
printed it off. You kind of lose the color. Yeah, but
So
that's okay.
Did it work for the one that was in the packet? Like
It was fine. It was fine.
Well, because I was looking at it, I'm like, there are people with different things. I'm like, well, what if I just put color? So we'll see. I'll keep trying that again. See how it works. The electrical upgrade work is well underway. They did all the trenching today. They dug the hole, laid the conduit, and filled it all back in, patched it all back up, and that was FAS Excavating did that. So that was good. And yeah.
Railroad, manhole. They did that work.
Yeah, they did all the work for us today, and when I found out who was doing it, I was like, oh, okay. Yep. So
there's two different.
The new panel is mounted. They've got that access panel open underneath one of the sub panels, so you can see up the old staircase to the side.
Cool.
There's actually a pipe leaking in there, so we got that addressed. But they've already made some good progress. Thursday and Friday this week, the building will be closed and dark. There will be no power as they change everything over, the transfer switch and the meter socket. It's all here, ready to go. It's all staged. There is.
So that notice is on our website.
It's everywhere. It's on the
door.
board
Okay,
out front. It's everywhere.
They're all aware that when the power goes out, that generator is going to come on.
No, it's not. I'm going to get them the key tomorrow, so they're going to disable the generator. We've called the alarm company. We have covered our bases. And I called the alarm company and asked who, by the way, is on our contact list, and it was Frank Chioffi and Joseph Yellings. We changed that information, so that's no longer them. But they're progressing along. There was a feed from the panel to the ceiling above the staircase over there, which was a junction box, which is not going to pass inspection, and shouldn't have been left the way it was. But be that as it may, they're going to have to mitigate that before it will pass inspection by the fire safety. So they're going to take care of that as part of this, but it's going to be a little bit more. Let's see, Stephanie.
Shit.
You're the last one.
Shit.
Joe got me his stuff today, so we're about 2 weeks behind at this point on that. So
oh yeah,
I promise Stephanie we will do better at the next deadline. But sooner is better.
Oops.
So she needs that as soon as she can. So not only the numbers but comments too. I got to get Dave to add some comments. Get any comments. So
oops.
Let's see. Last couple things. Received a email which you have on your desk from Irving Oil.
Oh yeah.
We have not received our annual letter from Johnson Energy yet. I don't know if it's coming or not, but we received a offer from Irving Oil for heating oil and propane for the town this year. And there also is a caveat, if we use their service, there is an employee discount offered to town employees for their own services. So,
do we usually put out a request for bids?
No,
we don't.
Nope. Johnson Energy is a preferred vendor, and we've received their letter and voted on it and moved on.
Well, since we have another, we probably should
probably check it every few years.
We should request bids.
So this did specify the state of Vermont negotiated variable rate, which is the state, I'm assuming the state contract pricing. This just came in just recently. So
interesting that they came to us, you know.
Yep.
Yeah.
Obviously somebody's paying attention.
Yeah.
Well, the rep,
right
the rep is actually on the top right-hand corner of the screen there.
Good.
So, yeah.
Thank you for sending this.
The
Mr.
poor guy
Reed.
sat through all this.
He did. He did.
Okay.
He got an education.
Yeah. So, if we can put something together if you like. What would you like to do?
It's probably something.
We should get something out to invite people to bid.
We always did.
Yeah.
And then the last couple of years we didn't.
Well, it's been more than a couple because we've never used anything but since I've been here. So
Okay. So let's
be the appropriate way that we can make a
problem.
We should word that as price over rag. Because that's how we normally.
I think that's kind of what it was addressed at in here too.
That's how they do it. We've always just put it out as we're the town of Rutland accepting bids on fuel oil and propane.
Yeah.
Actually, we've never bid the propane. We've only done the fuel oil.
Yeah, well, I mean, we have
The hard part.
we have propane, so
We're gonna have two now with a new station.
well, no, we've always had propane, but
Right, but we're gonna have two accounts, because,
oh yeah,
you know, the Center Rutland station has been since 2014.
Yeah.
Prior to that, everything was fuel oil.
So it sounds like we should put out two different bids or requests for bids, one for propane, one for fuel oil.
And it should be that cost plus or price over
Okay.
rack. That way we can compare them all.
Yeah.
Or
I will.
they don't offer that.
Yeah.
Because some of the, in the past, we've got a couple and they didn't offer the cost over rack price.
That's fine. I'll put something together and we'll
Okay.
we have a little bit of time on that one.
Yeah.
Also on your desk, information on the national opioid settlement. We are eligible to receive some funds.
Great.
Not a substantial amount, but still some nonetheless. There are some guidelines for how it can be spent. The documents are about 700 pages long, so I neglected to print them.
Oh, come on.
If we want to accept the money, we have to create an account we have to log into their system to say, yes, we really want the money. So, there's two different ones. And it's about $2,100.
21?
There's two different ones.
Oh, two different pools.
There's two different, there are two different pools, and they're not all at once, and there's a whole,
How restricted is the use of the money? And does League of Cities and Towns give us any guidance on this?
nothing's come from them. Nothing that I've seen relates to this. This comes directly from, there's a organization that sends this directly. So I can forward you the information so you can look. It was a little more than I was able to digest, given the size of it. So
If we got this money, could we fund some drug education? At the
I don't
school?
think actually you can. No.
What do they
There,
say
there,
we can
there
do?
were some unusual, like, you really can't do that, like, kind of things. It was like there was some, you like can't fund like policing efforts. I think there's some unusual, like,
Is it worth it? I guess that's.
well, and that's the thing. So
That's it. If he's gonna spend all
I mean,
kinds
you would
of
think that
hours.
if we're trying to stop drug addiction
Right.
and opioid misuse, then education would be at the top of
I
the
would
list.
think so too.
What do they
So
want us to do? Buy drugs?
I can,
That's the
I
plan.
can send you, I can forward you the information so you can see it. But that's what we have.
$2,100. I mean, if we could do something valuable with it, like
something. Let's say something easy.
My first thought was
nothing.
the DARE program. Like, that would make sense, but
Yeah,
But you can't.
I remember there was some talk about this, and I've heard on the news about different things. So I have not taken a deep dive into this. I've had too many other things going on. So,
Why isn't Rutland City on this?
I just pared it down, but they're getting like $21,000.
1,000.
But there's formulas and they were on the
state house homeless and
the
they
three
didn't
payment
have
schedule.
Okay.
They're there. I mean, I feel like I could forge everything. The whole spreadsheet is there. I just pared it down just to focus it for us because they're getting a lot more. But
what's there?
This is the administrator. So if there's actually something like a website that explains a little more, I'm not sure if
There's a
the
lot.
administrator is the best one.
just
They're
like to
going to
find
make
out
it
what we-
deliberately vague.
yeah.
What we can
Well,
do
I
with it.
think it was deliberately vague to kind of just say like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
Spend $1.
And it really didn't seem like there was a lot of reporting. So,
Okay.
so I can send you the information if you like, and then we can
Yeah.
decide if you want to.
Okay. It looks like we've got a little time to decide.
Yes.
We want to dispute our allocation is
Dispute.
July 15th.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Did I hear Kurt say something about
We got
disputing
1%. We got 10% of what the city. got.
Yeah, I mean, we got more homeless than the city does.
Well, but it's not. It's because it's Walmart and CVS, and because I think because they're in the city, they have a
Probably.
bigger percentage. So
Oh.
yeah.
And we only have Hannaford.
Yeah. So it's based upon Yeah.
Okay.
I don't think we should get into trying.
And that's why Pittsfield gets screwed with $30.
I don't think
they sell some Moltron at the general store over
I
there.
don't think I don't think we should get into their formulas. So
You're bad.
it's not.
By the way, I do want to say that Kurt and I have worked together on the townwide celebration, and I checked with him to see what he thinks, and but it's only fair to say that Kurt has worked hand in hand with me.
Excellent. Thank you.
And the last thing is in the packet, the letter for Jack.
I asked Bill to draft something thanking Jack for his service to the town and expressing our understanding.
We need a motion, or do we just sign it?
I think we can all just sign it if this is okay. People okay with this?
Yes. You have the colored copy?
Yes,
do.
she does have a
Perfect.
good copy.
Last week.
He told me, Mary, because he was telling me about things,
Put it in the drive.
and
Keep
he
forgetting
said
keys.
he's also not feeling well.
In 2 years.
So
Now it's going on 3 because I've been coming here.
Okay, did we cover everything in?
That is all the other items.
Perfect.
There was a personnel committee meeting, but there's really no minutes to speak
Oh,
of.
yeah,
'cause-
the personnel committee continued. Well, actually, we worked on the 2 things that you voted on earlier, so. We do, and we need to schedule a police committee meeting, and we should do a fire committee meeting, Sharon. And you have.
Yep. Just call me at home so I can look at my calendar.
Okay, fair enough. There you go.
Oh, I guess I gotta sign it now.
Okay, so I think the only thing
Find me.
left, we've got the committee reports we just sort of briefly did, select board project list, there it is.
Ongoing.
Yeah, well, Bill reported on the town hall building improvements. The transfer station toilet actually came up because we saw it
Yes.
approved.
So Kurt's working on it.
Pocket Park, Barbara did have something on the Pocket Park.
The archaeological study, but
Yeah.
they still need Green Mountain Powers to circle
Yeah.
back on it. So
Well,
yeah.
all right.
Yeah, I need to.
Rooftop solar arrays, public safety building
Gotta
is
find
moving along
someplace we-
Service Road. We're just waiting for
Put it off on
the
the side. so
folks
we're
up
not-
north to give us the the last bit.
Put a manhole on the top.
And
so
I
you
think
can
we're
pump it.
okay. So,
I can get a rotary tank.
any other new items?
I have a question for our highway committee.
Okay, we'll have an answer for you.
Maybe.
Maybe.
Where do things stand with that whole sewer thing and the looking with the camera and whatnot down
for
by the car wash and
Denny's.
We're waiting on them.
The car wash submitted an invoice. They had their line cleaned. They said it was pretty bad, but it's been cleaned, and they are asking again to be removed from their
wasn't
obligation.
Dave, we're gonna ask Dave if he could look at the line from Denny's.
From Denny's.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that hasn't happened.
I don't think.
I doubt it.
No, we'll have to. But if, yeah, because I think the recommendation of the committee and Dave was that once the line from the car wash to that manhole that is shared by the 2 was cleaned and inspected and okay, that we would release them from the agreement.
Yep.
And then Denny's would still be covered, would still be obligated to do their portion because.
Well,
we got to deal with the whole
for
thing.
half.
Huh?
For half.
Yeah.
Is what it says.
Right.
Right now.
It was a shared expense.
I mean, so who pays for the work that the guy, they paid for it?
They
right?
paid for it.
And
Yes.
cleaning and inspection,
Yes.
right.
A-
And their
A1
portion
did
is
it.
done.
Yeah. They cleaned their line from the car wash to the junction.
And the junction is where the 2 lines come together. So
Right.
anything now.
But the agreement was for Denny's to pay for half of cleaning under Route 7. I
Right.
think. Yeah. So it was sent to Kevin. I haven't heard back from him on it
Okay.
about rewording it or reworking it, but
Yeah, that little list you did a couple of weeks ago to him, these are the things we're waiting on. Could you regenerate that, please?
I have it readily available.
Thank you very much.
Yep. It's getting bigger.
Okay, so we have previously voted to go into executive session. If there's nothing else, we'll go into executive session.
Sweet.
Yeah,
Flavor,
no, it's
no.
there. I just
Oh,
didn't
there we
hit the arrow. Okay, it is 10:07. We're out of executive session. Do we have any motion?
Yeah, I love it. I make the motion that we approve the amount of $1,000 to Kari for additional works related to the elections, the extra election work.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? If not, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? It's unanimous. Motion carries. Is there any other
Move to
motion?
adjourn.
Motion's been made,
Second,
seconded, third, fifth.
Aye.
All in favor of adjourning, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye.